Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 153 of Geeks Chasing Squirrels across the multiverse. My name is Greg. I am the Bat Daddy 52, and with me, as always, I have my hosts. Yes, that's how you say it. Ross, what's up, man?
Oh, it's so funny because I was just watching. Oh man, what was it? Oh, something. They're just sitting there doing that. What do you call that? What is that? Oh, it's Ted Lasso. You say the word too many times, you get lost in it.
Yeah, it becomes a word salad then. So.
Yeah.
What's up, Sarah?
Oh man, what a week! It's been fun. It's been great. It's been lovely. Watch a little East Carolina play, get their asses kicked by Tulane today, but oh well.
Yeah.
We all can't be winners.
That's true. Especially if you're a Panthers fan.
Yeah.
Story of our lives.
Yeah,
East Carolina
right.
Twitter is about as funny as Carolina Panther Twitter. So
Maybe that's why I got a deal on all that stuff. Maybe they're just handing out Panthers gear to make people.
They probably are. That's what they're doing with tickets right now. So,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Panthers fan, Cody's joining us again. What's up, buddy?
What's up, ladies, gentlemen? Happy to be here again. Yeah, man, this is my my weekly session to vent about how much I love House of the Dragon and how good of a show it is. And I think my most controversial opinions is going to be Ring of Power tonight, though.
Okay.
You might not want to hear what I got to say about Ring of Power.
Well, I've already heard some of it. So
I kind of
full horseman chat.
Yeah, I've vented a little bit on Twitter and to you guys, but we'll go over it, man.
Oh yeah. You don't even know, it's so funny. House of the Dragon has gotten so big, and like especially with this group right here, which was funny because I haven't watched this week's episode, but that's another story. But so right here, like we even just mentioning it before we go live, everybody's just getting all riled up, talking about all kinds of things they love about it. I'm like, whoa.
I know. I didn't.
Let's go live and then we'll do it. So let's go ahead and quench that thirst. Let's start talking about House of the Dragon. We're gonna hop right into shows this week because we are catching up. Sorry about last week, but we all have lives. We have to deal with stuff sometimes. So we're back.
Hurricanes, no power, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I wasn't out of power for a long time, but I lost power for a little while. Ross, you were out for the longest, right?
Oh yeah, at least over a day. So
yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Started making candles. Weird shit. No,
it came up through Charlotte, but we got a bunch of heavy rain, but that's about it, man. Yeah.
It's not really like, really don't get the effects of like when it comes to like coastal hurricanes.
Yeah.
Ross, I'm sure you probably know about that too, because I'm telling you, even living in Greenville, it was, insane the kind of stuff that we had to deal with. But
yeah, I was waiting for this one to smack back and definitely go back towards the coast, but every once in a while we get one that comes up over the state and just kind of falls apart. And it's the sucky thing is that like it was the end of summer, or today I felt like the first day of fall to me. So it was the end of summer, so like I have all the summer stuff outside, and I have to bring it all in. Strap stuff down because I'm like, we are not about to lose brand new pool and everything else.
Well, we had a little kiddie pool out back, and over like the past experience of we've lost like quite a few inflatable pools to the point where you never saw it again. Don't even know where it went. Normally you'd find something in the neighborhood. I told Brian, I said, get it. He's like, oh, it's fine. No. Put it in the garage. Just, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with it.
I'll just put a log on top of everything that might fly away. Because it's not strong enough to carry a log, the winds. No. Right.
What was that thing from Twister way back in the day? Didn't your aunt have cows? And the cows are flying through the air.
Yeah. That's a good old
trampolines don't make it either. Yeah.
Oh no, those things are cells. But hey, let's talk a show.
First squirrel right out of the gate. I say we're gonna hop right in the show, then we start talking about hurricanes. So let's do it.
Rock me like a hurricane.
Who wants to get started on some House of the Dragon talk? Like I said, I haven't seen this week's episode, so I'm gonna bow out.
I'll do it. No. Talk about last week's episode.
Oh, we gotta talk about last week's episode.
Get it.
You gotta jump into it.
That one. I want to start.
Do it then. Do it.
Soon as it opens, you've got Rhaenyra out there, and she's in the midst of childbirth. I'm like, this lady, oh my gosh. It wasn't just that. It was the fact, like, afterwards, and then Allison asked for, to see the child, and she's like, I got this. I'll take him. I'm like, oh no, 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 you're not. No, you're not. Yes, she did. I thought, oh my
Yes, she
gosh.
did.
Yes, she did. I said, oh, fellas, that
It-
is something.
It's such a power play by both women. Allison demanding to see the baby as soon as it's born. Because,
Yes.
of course, she wants to see what it looks like. And that's like the whole theme of this episode. It's like, it's a surprise to no one that none of Rhaenyra's children look like her. You know, it's like a very open secret. That's the theme of this episode. But Rhaenyra is like, oh, you want to see my baby, bitch? All right, you're gonna see me too. Yeah, I'm coming to see you also. So,
Special delivery.
yeah, I found that awesome. Both of these two women have grown a lot, and
Mhm.
man, so much has happened
Literally.
between the two of them. Yeah, really.
Oh, those actresses are just
Literally.
fantastic. They're fantastic. I mean, it's just you had the young ones, and they were great. But now, casting their older versions, I'm like, wow, they hit that nail on the head with that one.
Do you guys
That's
have a
insane.
problem with the new actresses? Like, I know some people, not a lot of people, but some people have kind of been like complaining that they changed the actresses and that they're, recasting people. To me, I understand it because so much of the story takes place at different time points throughout their lives. So I don't really care that they have different actors sometimes. But I wanted to know what you guys think. Like, is it bothering any of you? I saw Ross kind of put his
Hammering
hand
up.
up.
It bothers me, and I'm going to tell you that the biggest probable reason is because I'm getting zero. I'm left to my own devices trying to figure out the timeline here, and my beef with that is that they could do a better job helping me through that. I don't have a problem with them changing actresses if they did more to help on that side. I liked young Rhaenyra. I think that actress like kicked ass. She came out
She was awesome.
based. Yeah, she owned her role, and I think there are so many different ways that they could have done it. That we get to see such a large point of time pass by in this whole entire show, and I do think that that's cool that they take it upon themselves to change actors and actresses. But at the same time, it's a little confusing because, like I said, there's no legend on the map. Like I'm not being told, I'm not being helped out. I'm having to put the pieces together right off the bat with who was it, Aegon? Him being a 2-year-old kid in that first time jump episode, and I'm like, okay, well, that's at least 2 years, right? So, 2 years and 9 months. So that helps, Like I'm not new to the way that Game of Thrones portrays time, but this is new. This whole tactic that they're doing is new. So
Yeah, that's fair.
I do not have a problem with it, but for a totally different reason. Because I am still yet to see. I didn't see this week's episode. I still haven't seen last week's episode either. Okay, I was going to watch a double feature today as a movie, as two. I've been staying away from. Listen. Wife's birthday, daughter's birthday, all kinds of stuff going on this week or this last 2 weeks. Okay,
That's
so
you need to mute. We're gonna create a symbol.
it's okay.
All right?
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
But it's
I told myself going in. I told myself going in. I was like, I'm gonna get spoiled about all this, but it's my fault. Like I said, I was gonna have plenty of time after work today to watch it as a movie. These 2 episodes, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it like that. And then life hit me, and wasn't able to squeeze that in. So, but it's okay because I don't have to work the next 2 days, and I want to watch tomorrow's episode live, or not live, but when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be caught up by tomorrow. Plus, I'm gonna wake up early in the morning to watch football, so I know.
But we're definitely about to spoil all the big moments.
Do it. I don't care. I've got so many shows going on. Do it.
Yeah, because Twitter's like, I guess you could say spoiled a lot because I fall down those rabbit holes now, and
Sarah's obsessed with it. I love it. I love it so much.
But the thing about it is, no matter whatever they say, I still want to see the episode to see how everything unfolds. Because you might get to this moment, like they'll tell you about this moment, but I'm like, how did we get to that moment? And Ross, to your point, like the time jumps, they kind of threw me off too because, especially like the earlier, what was it about? I'd say the episode before that time jump, especially when Allison went pregnant and all this kind of. Then you're like, wait a minute, you start doing kind of math in your head.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, so we're just supposed to take this, that automatically assume. But then again, if I don't know how Game of Thrones handled it, since I haven't seen that, but I guess they're thinking that an audience of Game of Thrones would understand how this works. I don't know, but I mean,
Well,
I,
no, I mean,
I
in,
can kind of
in,
follow it though. I can kind of.
in Game of Thrones, they really didn't have a lot of big time jumps like this. This is new
But
to
did they
House of
have
the
time
Dragon.
jumps?
Yeah, I mean, in the later seasons, but it's
Yeah.
mainly like,
No.
how did they get from this place to that place in like a day's time?
Yeah.
Like a lot of kind of stupid time jumps, but not with like aging up characters. This has been the only one
Yeah.
where they do that. But
All
again,
the
I've
ages
read
was
the
natural.
I read the books though, and so much of this story takes place at different points of their life. From childhood to adulthood. Literally all characters involved, as you saw with Aemon this last episode. That happened to him as a kid, and it informs who he is as a man. So, but this next episode is the final one that they're gonna do. So this next episode, all the actors that you see will be the final ones. Um, but so I just want to pick your guys' brains. What are your thoughts on like the whole Harwin Strong thing? Like the fact that pretty much everyone knows that Rhaenyra's children are not hers, but that Viserys continues to turn a blind eye towards this. Like, what do you think should be done in this scenario slash situation? Should it just go to Rhaenyra and then her illegitimate children, which everyone thinks are legitimate, or do you think Alicent uh, and her son Aegon probably should have a claim to the Iron Throne?
Well, I'll start off by saying that first off, Viserys is looking like crap. Not only has he lost fingers and a hand and better part of an arm, I mean, but he looks like he's just walking ridden disease. Yeah. The fact that it's allowed to happen to the extent that it is in these 2 episodes shows you the power of what being king is all about. Because it is literally like, you don't get to say anything because I'm king. And the king gets to go on and he gets to choose to live blindly, right? Everyone else clearly knows. I mean, that was the whole reason why Alicent made the comment to Laenor. It was like, don't worry, one of them will eventually look like you. And, the whole reason why she wanted to see the kid, because it's the 3rd time around. And if the 3rd kid doesn't have blonde hair, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What this is doing for me is it's showing Daemon's influence on Rhaenyra. Like, you can go around and screw and do whatever you want to do, and that's Daemon's influence. And what that's doing is going to eventually land Rhaenyra in a place to where she gets to say, "No one makes my rules. I make my rules." So I'm all about the method that they're trying to tell this story in. And I think that it really sucked the way that, Harwin, I'm really trying to not step on too many spoilers here, but it really sucked how that whole entire thing happened. It was methodical and it was maniacal, the whole plan. But at the same time, like I said, the broader picture of the whole thing really shows how Rhaenyra is probably going to unfold. And basically, she's going to come in, she's going to lay her piece down and be like, here's how things are going to be ran. If you don't want to do it this way, you're not going to have a choice. Alicent, on the other hand, thinks that, the bug has been put in her ear, that she is the true and rightful queen and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, until something else gets said, the whole point of this is to have another Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love how weird Alicent's kids are. You see Aegon standing in the window fucking jerking off. And you're like, what? And then when his mom walks in, you can tell it's like totally not a surprise to her. She has definitely seen him do some weird shit like this before. And I love the little touches like that too. Like they're all some weird kids. the Greens, and then you get to meet her daughter. And since we're kind of talking about both episodes here, there's a lot of rumors that Helena, the daughter of Alicent and Viserys, that she might be a dreamer herself. Because if you notice in that episode when she's playing with that centipede, uh, she's talking to Aemon about the dragons. Like, don't worry, you'll have a dragon. Because they were making fun of them. They put a pig and dragon wings. Like, they were totally fucking with them. Like, haha, you don't have a dragon. But while Helena's holding the millipede, she's like, he'll have to lose an eye first, or he'll have to close an eye 1st, and that's very prophetic. And you see that with Viserys and the dragon dreams. Like, dragon dreams is a very Targaryen thing. These prophetic dreams that they have, and she even has more prophetic words in the most recent episodes. She's like, threads of black, threads of green, threads of black dragons and green dragons. Like, kind of like she's looking at war banners in the future. So I really like how all of the greens, so to say, Allison's children, they're all shaping up to be, in a very short amount of time, really fascinating characters that they have their own unique personality, and it's like,
except for Aegon.
crazy. Yeah.
Screw that kid.
Well, the thing about it too is like, if like in the very beginning, in the beginning is like when Rhaenyra, was going to marry. Is it what's the fellow's name? Lenora? No, I can never remember those damn names. But anyways, the fact of, even though there would be Valyrians in name, if they ascended to the throne, they'd be Targaryens. So I look at it this way. I said, does it really matter whose blood is who? It's all about names. It's not the blood they're going to remember. It's the names they're going to remember. So the fact of Rhaenyra having either Valyrian Targaryen kids or strong Targaryen kids, does it really matter? I mean, that's
right,
because if you get down to it, it's just it's almost a game of names, really.
Game of Thrones set a precedent for that, and so that's what. Even though like most of everything through story lines and everything else, even in real life, what you're saying does make sense. But Game of Thrones set a real heavy precedence about all the bastard children, and so
yes.
This is kind of like I wouldn't say this is the beginning of that, but this may be more of the beginning in this universe, I guess.
And how would it not hurt to kind of like spread the wealth around too? Because you can't let the tree fork. That's a lot of the problems too.
Well, and it does. So most reasons why Targaryens do it is because they believe that the more pure your blood is, that the better your connection to dragons. And dragons is the power of this world. If you have dragons, you can conquer armies. And you see in that episode, they were able to give Lucerys, the middle child, they were able to pair him with a dragon. Remember when they had the dragon burn the goat alive? And he was able to like talk to the dragon. So that's his dragon now. They already have dragons connected to them. So you already kind of see right there that, it doesn't have to necessarily be this thick Targaryen blood to be able to have dragons. And that's going to come into play in later seasons too. But yeah, so in the books, the Valyrians are not black people. They're white, and they kind of look like Targaryens. But I actually like that they are black in the show, because it makes it even more apparent. Like,
not my child.
hey, dude.
Like, not just the hair color. It's like also.
Yeah, like they're kind of way pale, huh? And that was really funny. And I wanted to get your guys' opinion on in the battle yard, Kristen Cole.
I was gonna say that.
He eggs on Harwin because Kristen Cole is training all of them in the courtyard, Alicent's children and Rhaenyra's children, and he's like definitely teaching Allison's children better technique. But at the end of it, Harwin like has to kind of step in, and then Kristen Cole starts goading Harwin. He's like, it's funny that you have such protection over these boys, almost as if they were your your cousins or your nephews or even your sons. And then Harwin just loses his shit and starts beating on Kristen Cole. And that's what he wanted to happen. Like, he wanted to show everyone, yeah, there's a reason why that pushed his buttons to push him over the edge to a point of violence, you know? And like, that's why at the end he's laying there all bloodied up and he's like, I knew it. He just totally let Harwin into it.
Well,
Yep.
Sir Christian's such a bitch anyways, because they really open it up to where he's like, oh, he was so asked for Nara to run off with him. Now he's like, oh, he's spoiled little bitch. I'm like, oh, okay, I see how that goes. I mean, it's
Dude,
really?
he bent harder than the capital L in the word love. I mean, like, he literally bent sideways, and now he is completely a different person. What he was for the first couple episodes of this show was fantastic, but man, when this episode started, I'm like, this bitch.
Absolutely.
This bitch is gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll just kind of run the Harwin story real fast, or the Strong story. When you run into Lionel, is that his dad's name? Lionel Strong, I believe.
Yes.
When he goes and basically tells the king, at this point, with the fight that has happened and knowing what he knows about the kids, he's kind of at a point where it's like, my son's got to leave, and I'm compromised. And the king basically says, well, you're not compromised enough. And then the king won't get him to actually say the words. And here you have Alicent just like, say the words so your king can hear the words.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. He's like, what am I going to do? I just got to get rid of my son for a while. But man, oh man, dude, when you put the plan into effect that his other son, what's his name?
Is it Linus?
Larry.
Laris.
Laris, yeah, Laris.
Laris, there you go. When Laris put that whole plan into effect, I'm like, oh man, not only did he find a way to make it happen, he found a way to make it happen that held true to like their own beliefs and like what they're not beliefs, that's probably the wrong word, but what the tall tale or the story has actually had the whole entire time. And then to get rid of both of them, he did exactly what he needed to do. Laris opened the door for that asshole Otto to come right back into play. And here we are. It's just...
And he's got Alicent bent over too, because he was like, I'm just doing what you asked. He's like, oh, I didn't ask you to do that. He's like, but did you? Did you really?
Well, so it literally killed two birds with one stone.
I know, that's exactly what I said.
So one, how crazy is it that the dude has no problem burning his father and brother alive? Because that's his father and brother, and he's the youngest. He was younger than Harwin. So, in burning both his father and brother alive, not only does he become the Lord of Harrenhal, so he receives a come up in the world, but also, as you see at the end of next episode too, he has positioned himself to be a very important person for Alicent going forward. Because now, again, we're kind of jumping around here, but at the end of the next episode, when Alicent is not happy with how the king handled the conflict, she's like, oh, okay.
You want me to take care of it? I'll take care of it.
Yeah. And he's such a pervert psycho. He's like, at the wedding or at the funeral, he's like staring at the whole time. And like,
hold on. Well, I'm going to talk about that scene, but yeah.
Dude, it's so good. But the Strongs, to kind of stay on pace, I mean, really,
he created his own army.
Yeah, he created and the fact they cut their tongues off, like straight up cut those dudes' tongues off, so they would never be able to rat him out, and they would never be able to say that, oh yeah, it was Laris who paid us to, to kill his father and brother, and now he has like an army of men to carry out his deeds and shit like that.
And him alone, I mean, this show turns into, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but in Game of Thrones, wasn't the mercenary group called the Second Sons?
Yes.
Okay, and so this whole show seems like it's just a story of Second Sons. I mean, between Daemon and Aemon, and now you got Laris. I mean, like, it is just a story of Second Sons, and so it's really amazing that either the show's not called that or the books are not called that. It's so apparent with everything they have coming up.
Yeah, well, and there's this notion in the world of Westeros that second sons have to make their own way in life, because if you're the oldest, well, then you inherit your father's castle and title and all these other things, whereas if you're the second son, you have to kind of build your own fate, build your own success. And yeah, it's that's a great assessment, Ross. That's pretty much at the center of this whole show. It's sons and daughters and who inherits and who doesn't, and it's dude, Laris is going to be a very evil player, I feel going forward. Like, he's going to do some sick shit.
The other part of ending this episode was Rhaenyra figuring out that she's not safe. She tried to make a deal with Alicent in front of the king at the council, and Alicent basically said, like, there's nothing you can do. Like, she basically, slapped her across the table, metaphorically, and that was that point to where Rhaenyra finally figured out that they can't stay, and she took her husband and her kids and her husband's lover, and they all went off to Dragonstone. So I think that wraps up that episode.
Yeah. Oh, so also you had Daemon and that actually is going to be real important going forward. So Daemon and Lena, they're over. They're over in Pentos, and this is the first time that you see Vhagar, and Vhagar is the biggest, most fearsome dragon in all the world. It was a part of Aegon's original conquest, and they say that now it has grown to be the size of Balerion the Black Dread. That's that skull that you see around those candles under the castle. And again, not to jump around, but that's why whoever rides Vhagar, it's so incredibly important, because you hold so much power if you have that dragon. And I just found it really, to kind of jump ahead a little bit. It's like Daemon was faced with the same problem that his brother was when his brother's wife died, and they were like, we can't do anything. And Lena, she's like, no, I'm not gonna go out like that. She decides, I want to die a dragon rider's death. And I love the emotion that they give the dragons.
Oh God, that was
it was tough, man, because she's bleeding to death. She walks outside and kneels down in front of her dragon, and she's like, Dracarys. And the dragon looks at her like, what? Like, you want me to do what? And Vhagar just kind of can't seem to do it. But there's also this implied psychic link between dragon and dragon rider. And it's almost like Vhagar knew that she was in pain. Right. So you could tell, like, even as she did it, it's just heart-wrenching, man. It was absolutely heart-wrenching.
It was like the backwards problem of ever having to put an animal down, because here you have an animal putting the human down. And so it was like, that was my first thought, just sitting there looking, like you said, the expression and everything else they're really trying to portray in that shot. They came across like that really strongly. So
Well, I can't add a lot to this, but I do want to ask, and you kind of answered the question there. So it's not like Dragonheart, like the rider dies, the dragon dies type deal. Like
No.
the dragon can
No,
have
so
multiple
No.
riders.
yeah,
The whole next
dragons-
episode was about that.
yeah, so literally the whole next episode is about. But so most
cool.
of these dragons, like a dragon can live like 200 plus years,
Okay.
and so during the course of that time, they can have multiple dragon riders. Now, it is assumed that they only bond with one at a time, and there is something after this next episode that book readers are kind of like, what is going to happen with a certain dragon in question? But we'll kind of get to that. But yeah, multiple dragons.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the end of that episode.
Mhm.
The next one where you have her funeral,
Yes.
dude. All right,
There's so much I want to talk about. Go ahead, Ross.
if you have to write a description of like imagine you have to, someone says, hey, here's a whole bunch of coloring utensils of your choice. Here's a gigantic piece of paper. I need you to draw what your thought of the word awkward means. And that's what this whole entire shot was. Because it was everyone standing around. No one had anything to do. Everyone sizing each other up. I mean, it was so awful just watching it happen. And it was so different than, I don't remember Damon's first wife's name, but it was so different of a scenario.
Yeah.
Now, what I have heard, and I have not verified this, so this is kind of a rumor, is that this was the very first shot of these actors and actresses in their roles in this show. And they did it because none of them had any chemistry other than meeting each other. And so they made this scene happen with all of them in a position where they know what their story is for their character. And then they just threw them into it and basically, hey, action. Now, like I said, I don't know what the weight of that truly is, but if it's true, I can totally buy it.
So I don't know if you guys caught on to this. I actually didn't at first, but when they're burying Elena, and the guy speaking, which is Corliss's younger brother, by the way,
Mhm.
the words that he's saying is that the salt runs thick in the Valerian blood. Well, as they do this, the camera pans to Rhaenyra and her
To the boys.
children, and it's basically insinuating like. I believe his name is Vaemond. That Vaemond Valerian is sitting there kind of saying, hey, it's apparent to me and everyone else, those are not Valerians because salt runs thick in the Valerian blood. Well, that's when Daemon does his crazy little laugh. His,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and in that moment, you're like, what a psycho. Like, what's he laughing for? But then you realize, like, he's trying to take the attention off of Rhaenyra and her children and trying to make it look other, So in that little moment, you see Daemon trying to protect Rhaenyra. And I thought that was a really nice touch, just doing that. That it shows that for as crazy as Daemon is as a character, when he does care about someone, he really does care, and the stuff that he'll do for someone when he does care for someone is pretty extreme too. But a lot of good moments at this wedding too. So like, okay, I saw.
Be careful.
Huh?
It's a funeral. Be careful.
Yeah. Come on, so Kevin in the chat, he put Aemon and Helena seems like two weirdos who have no problem hooking up with each other. So Aegon actually does. So Aemon doesn't have a problem, but the oldest one, Aegon, does. He's like, I can't believe I'm supposed to marry her. He's like, it is your duty. And he's like, she's weird. He doesn't want anything to do with this girl. And she is a very weird girl. She's like playing with spiders and shit during this funeral. But you also see the difference between Aegon and Aemond. Like Aegon wants to drink. He wants to, bed random women. He wants to, just get passed out drunk. He lives like a very debaucherous kind of lifestyle. All of the luxuries that being the prince affords you. And, Aemon is completely on some other shit. He's, from last episode with them making fun of him with the pig and him not being a dragon, and then he's at a funeral with all these other dragon riders. It's like you see him at the end of that looking up in the air, like almost looking for Vhagar. Like he came to Dragonstone with a plan.
Well, you could hear the dragon, right? Or you could see it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely hear him. They showed a few early on too. When they first showed you Dragonstone, they show a bunch of dragons that they haven't even shown out in public yet, which was cool.
So is Dragonstone like a place where all the dragons hang out? Like the single dragons hang out?
So Dragonstone is where Aegon the Conqueror built his father built the castle before the Doom of Valyria. And essentially the Prince of the Iron Throne, they inherit Dragonstone as their birthright. So if you're the prince, you're the Prince of Dragonstone. That's where most of the dragons are born, because there's an active volcano there.
Okay.
So the heat is very beneficial to hatching dragon eggs.
Okay. Makes sense.
Anything else you guys about the funeral you guys wanted to mention before we talk about Aemon?
The funeral rolls right into the Rhaenyra and Daemon scene. You have them on the beach, and it's nighttime, and here you have Rhaenyra still chasing that Daemon D. I'm like, why, dude? Like, I don't quite get it. And then, I mean, like, I do. Like he's a badass from what we see, but she hasn't seen all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the whole family thing. So, they finally like do the damn thing, and I mean it's moonlit beach. I guess you can call that cute or whatever. But damn, I mean, you knew at some point it had to happen because you knew what Rhaenyra's underlying motives truly were. You knew that she was hooked, and it was going to happen at some point, right?
Yeah.
But then, like you said, jumping to the next part was the parallel of while they're doing that, you have Aemon, on a hunt. He's hunting a desperate, dragon who just, killed its owner, and ends up finding that dragon. Not only finding that dragon, but basically cooing and wooing that dragon into becoming the new rider of the dragon. So Vhagar is now Aemon's dragon, and I mean it was funny because you felt good for him as he was no longer left out. He was part of all of the other kids because you had Daemon's kids, Rhaenyra's kids, Alicent, or at least Aegon had a dragon. And so with all these dragons going around, Aemon finally got his, even though it wasn't like a brand new dragon. Mm-hmm. But then the opposing scene, when he got done riding the dragon, is where, I mean, it turned into battle royale in a hallway is what it was essentially what happened. I mean, if there were metal chairs, they probably would have been thrown. Those kids fighting, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And it felt real. Like it didn't feel like it was a very well acted scene for kids.
Yes, there was some bitch slapping going on. That was
bitch
slapping.
I was
whoa,
wonderfully impressed, but also worrisome on how good that they were. Mm-hmm. The fight ended up with Aemon having that scar on his face, and man, that shit looked brutal.
Yeah.
the makeup, the acting of that little kid, all of it together. I was like, I wasn't taken out of it. Not a single thing in that whole entire episode, other than like the incest, like none of that other stuff took me out of it. I was in there the whole time, not feeling like the makeup was a problem, the acting was a problem, the kids were a problem, or the story was a problem. The fight, or I guess you can't really call it a fight, but the standoff between Rhaenyra and Alicent was really good. Alicent showing her true colors and Rhaenyra standing there and taking it. I'm like, oh my god. Whew.
Well, how about we lead to like when like the whole with Aemon sitting there, and then of course Alicent losing her mind because she's like, "Oh, my child, you know, he's injured, you know, the whole eye for an eye type deal." And Viserys is over like, "Look, damn it, we're all gonna get along. We're family. This is gonna end," because you know Alicent she was like, I won't, you know, I'm like you said, eye for an eye. You know, I need payment basically." And Rhaenyra's like, "Oh, the hell you will." So, yeah, like I said, that kind of led up to that stunt. But like, but Viserys through the whole thing, he's just like trying to keep, even though he's king and he can make his commands, he still is a father and a grandfather, and he's trying to keep his crowd together. He's like, "Look, damn it, we're still family. Let's just like basically just get along." I mean, this guy is like just falling apart in all, forms and fashions. But the fact that you finally had that, like I said, that standoff between Rhaenyra and Alicent. Alicent finally just lost it and just came after her, and she just Rhaenyra's like, "There you go.
Yep.
Everybody's seeing you now for what I see you as." You know that. So this Alicent's trying to say Rhaenyra's like this, and Rhaenyra's saying Alicent's like, and it's just like, oh my god. And everybody's just. But the fact of the matter, when Viserys asked Aemon, he's like, especially talking about Rhaenyra's kids and them being bastards and all this kind of stuff. He's like, "Who said that? Who said it?" And Alicent's like, her eyes getting this big. Aemon just kind of looks at it, and then what? Did he throw Aegon under the bus?
He threw
Oh,
Aegon
yeah.
under the bus. Aegon's like, "What the?"
Why'd you
Aegon's
throw
like, "The fuck, bro?"
Which I mean, good for him because Aegon's a shit. So,
but I also even what Aegon said, like he didn't throw anyone under the bus. It was just like everyone knows. It's like everyone knows, and like Viserys, he's very kind of ineffectual here, because as a leader, you're supposed to make tough decisions. And I'm not even saying I know what he should have done, but essentially his answer is just to do nothing. Everyone quit fighting. He gets mad and then tries to walk away. And this is the first time that Alicent checks him in front of the whole court, in front of everyone there. It's just like, that's not sufficient. That's not good enough. My son lost an eye. Now it's an eye for an eye. What are you talking about, old man? And by the way, earlier in that episode, to show how far gone Viserys is, Viserys walks by her when he's going to retire to his chamber, and he says, "I'm going to bed, Aemma." He calls Alicent his first wife. So Alicent feels like Rhaenyra just gets to do whatever she wants without any consequences at all. And it's like, a mother's scorn. She's like, "Nah, bitch, I ain't having it no more." And at the end of that scene, you see the lines form. It's Alicent and Kristen and her children with Daemon and Rhaenyra, her kids, and the Valerians. The whole scene was just incredible. Going back to Aemon, I love the whole. So when I told you guys a few weeks ago that there was like a moment that I was waiting for, this was it. This was the moment when this fucking crazy kid decides, you know what? I'm gonna ride the biggest dragon in all of Westeros, dude. My siblings are picking on me, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be the a rider of a pig" and all that type of crap. Like, dude, he is just fed up, and he goes and takes this dragon, and you see how hard it is to ride. He has to climb up ropes to get to the top of the thing. Then when it finally does take off, it's a massive dragon. He's trying not to fly off the back of the damn thing. And then I love the moment when you see the birds coming up. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and that's like duck out of the way to not let the birds hit him in the face. Dude, it was just such a magical moment. And there's a scene where Damon, after boning his niece, is standing on the beach and is like looking out, and he saw Vagar flying around because remember that was his wife's dragon. So Damon is looking out there like, oh boy, here we go. And literally right after that moment, Eamon comes back and he's feeling like the shit. He just rode the most powerful dragon in the world and it's now his. And then he comes up to Lena's daughters and they were like, you had no right to do that. That was my mom's dragon. That was supposed to be mine. And it's basically like snooze, you lose. You know, you should have claimed her.
Mhm.
And then it just goes into this big fight. And I want to defend Eamon here for a sec, because there were two moments when he had the opportunity to really hurt both of them. So he had a rock in his hand, and he was going to take the younger one, the younger brown-headed boy, uh, and just bludge him in the head. But if you notice, he doesn't do that. That's when it calls him a bastard. They're just a bunch of strongs. And then that's when everyone starts attacking him. Then he just beats their ass again, and you can tell that he's a much better fighter than everyone else. Kristen Cole has been training him, you know. But then he has another opportunity when it hits him to the ground, where he comes up and he also could have beat him to death. And again, he did choose not to do that. And the real violence comes after Dracarys, I think that's the older one, cuts his eye out, takes a knife, and then just boom, just cuts him right across the face, and takes
Well,
his
the younger one
eyeball.
does it, right? Like,
Yes,
isn't like it,
uh,
Luke is the
it
one
is
that sliced his eye.
right. So
Okay,
Jairus is
yeah.
yeah, and Luke is
Because
the
he
one
threw
that
he threw the sand or the dirt in his eyes and basically screwed him up. So
yes. And that was just, and I love what Aemon says at the end. He's like, "Don't mourn for me, mother. I lost an eye, but I gained a dragon." And Otto Hightower even says it earlier when he was like telling Allison, you know, Allison thought that her father was going to come in, you know, scold her. How dare you act out in front of the king like that? But he's like, I didn't know you had it in you. I've been waiting for you to do this.
Yep.
And then he's like, he's 100% that that what that crazy boy did is worth way more than an eyeball. Because now that the battle lines are being formed, I promise you it means something. That now the Grins and Alicent, their side now lays possession to the biggest, most powerful, most battle-worn dragon in all of Westeros. And that matters. To
And
a
you get the other
point.
side of it.
Yeah, so go ahead. Do you have something? So did you want to add to that?
No, because I mean, well, just the opposing force to that is what happened at the very end.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, if you want to jump straight into that,
Yeah, sure.
it ends up being, Rhaenyra and Daemon need to figure out how they're going to become husband and wife.
Yeah.
When you have Laenor still in the path and in the way, because you can't clearly wed somebody when they're still currently married.
Yep.
They devise a plan, and it depends on what your take is on the whole entire plan. Laenor has to be murdered. Does he actually? Is the plan to actually murder Laenor, or is the plan to actually do what happened at the end, which was it was a quick okie doke. Someone has to actually die because there has to be a body.
Right.
Someone has to be in the way of to see the fight happen, to see him go down, and that they played all these roles perfectly, and so we don't know if I don't, because I didn't read the book. I don't know if we're in a position to where Lenor and I can't remember the guy's name, but his boyfriend, if they planned that whole thing out knowing what was going to happen, or if it was all planned through Damon from the beginning. Because, he did make that statement right there in the cave when he was talking to the boyfriend. It's like, you guys can disappear and, go wherever. What was really shocking above everything else was seeing Lenor without his blonde hair. Seeing that bald dude, oh, man, I was like, what's going on? But now you have Rhaenyra, and you have Daemon, and you have all of the collective dragons and kid dragons in between them. So, you imagine that there's going to be an issue with the not so thick bloodline with Jaceras and Luceras and whatever the what was the Joffrey was the last kid's name?
Yeah, Joffrey, and homage of his former love.
Yeah.
Because remember, she was like, "Don't you think that you should ask me before you name my child?" But he also felt burned too when Allison's like, "I need to get one that looks like you." So, So Aemon taking Vhagar, it prompts them. Like, not only are Rhaenyra and Daemon in love, but if they are going to be seen as legitimate, like, okay, it's time to consolidate power now. It's time, battle lines are being drawn. You need to secure your future. And adding one House of Valerion, who also has many dragons, if you include Corlys's wife, Rhaenys, she has a dragon. The kids have dragons. And there's more dragons that are on Dragonstone that the show hasn't even introduced us to yet. But
just dragons.
Yeah, man. So
new cars.
So okay, I'll give you my theory on this, and you tell me what you guys think. I think that both Daemon and Rhaenyra intended for Lenor to escape. And the reason I think so is because, if Daemon doesn't care about you or has no connection to you, expendable to him. Fine, it's whatever. But if you remember in the Battle of the Stepstones, Lenor Valerian saved his life on his dragon Sea Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what came and saved Daemon's life in that moment. But also with Rhaenyra, she has a real love for Lenor. There's a moment when, because he's a gay man, he's talking to her, and he's like, "I'm so mad that the gods cursed me with this affliction." And she's like, "I'm not. I love you the way you are. I don't want you to be different." And that's what makes me believe that she wants him to go and live a happy life where he doesn't have to, be some, some shell, some pretend person. And at the same time, not only does he get to live his best life, but now it's time for Rhaenyra and Daemon to come together for this clear battle of passion that's about to come. So, I'm of the belief that neither Daemon or Rhaenyra wanted him to die, but that's just my assessment. And Ross, you said you didn't read the book, but again, the book is written from the point of view of the Maester, and
true.
the Maesters, they're not going to have the full version of everything that happened. So I wouldn't doubt it if that really is what actually happened. So yeah, I thought that was a really nice moment too, where it's like they got to kind of, again, there's that phrase again, kill two birds with one stone, kind of let their lovers go free. Daemon's had died. That's what the funeral was for. And then Lenor gets to go and live his life by himself and to be happy and to be free.
So I haven't seen it yet, but just based on what y'all are saying here, if Lenor dies, what does that do for the deal made with Viserys and Corlys about children and who takes over the throne? Like, or do
Well,
you not know? Is that what's coming in the future?
Well, it's the same thing. So right now, her oldest, Jacaerys Valerian, once it comes time for him to be the king, he will be Jacaerys Targaryen.
So
There's
her
a
marrying
scene.
somebody
There's a
else
scene
wouldn't
that you're
change that?
missing. There's a scene that we didn't talk about that you're missing that happened between Corlys and his wife, and to where
Yes.
his wife was basically saying, like I know those kids are not Lenore. What's his name?
Laenor.
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 Yep.
So many names.
I know.
And it was part of that scene that helped build up the tension in feeling the way that the episode ended, because it was them also acknowledging that the brown-headed kids were not Valerian or Targaryen.
Yeah.
And so you got to watch it to get that bit in there to truly understand, well, I guess, like the gravity of it and everyone else's point of view also. The only reason they needed to get rid of Laenor was so that the two of them could wed, Rhaenyra and Daemon. And so I truly think that, Cody, to your point of talking about what truly happened,
Mhm.
Daemon instilled in Rhaenyra that she was in a position to do whatever she wanted to do. And so that is also the way that she lived her life. And I'm pretty sure that's how she would have given the future to her now ex-husband. So I find it funny that it ran its cycle completely with Daemon and Rhaenyra now being wed, to let the ex-husband go because you're all in power and you should all be able to live a life. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Live your station, but also live your life.
Mm-hmm.
The only downside, not downside, but problem with that is like you're leaving a thread open there, right?
Watch Game of Thrones. There's plenty of those left open.
Okay.
Well, I felt so bad for was it Rhaenys and Corlys? Because she just lost her daughter.
Yeah.
And now she thinks she's lost her son. Because that lady, her wail was like, it was piercing. Because it's like, you've already buried a daughter. And now, she's on the impression she's lost a son as well. She's like, because, I think she told Corlys at one point, she's like, these are our children. These are our kids we're dealing with here. Despite, and man, the way she, when you saw her hold on her granddaughters too, I was like, oh man, this lady, she is like, what the hell is happening to my family?
Yeah. It's, and you even said that. You even said that earlier too, Sarah. That the name is what matters more than the blood, because Rhaenys was like, pass Driftmark onto your daughters. They are truly Valerians. And then he is the one that says to her, nah, name is the only thing that matters. And because remember, all these rumors about their kids not being his kids, he does have a point. If he disinherited his oldest son as the heir Driftmark, well, that's an even bigger red flag that's almost invalidating all the rumors that are swirling already about him. So, in a way, both Rhaenys and Corlys in that moment were both completely right about it, about how they were viewing things. Like, yes, Baela and Rhaena would have been the more legitimate heirs to Driftmark. And, I was passed up to be the queen. So maybe you can make this right by making one of them be the heir to Driftmark. But he's like, no, I can't do that to my son. I'm just not going to do it. You also notice that at the end, like almost as soon as Laenor dies, that's when Daemon and Rhaenyra marry each other. So in the book, they let you know that was done on purpose, because it's very suspicious to everyone. Oh, all of a sudden, Lena and Laenor both kicked the bucket, and then within the next few days, Daemon and Rhaenyra are getting married to one another.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, hey, what's going on here? and it's implied that Damon and Rhaenyra very much want it to be that way. They want people to fear what they might be willing to do.
Yeah.
And that's what
makes
their enemies
sense.
feel.
Yeah.
Power plays. The ultimate power couple.
And then I love it at the
Like
end.
episode of Dallas.
You see the maester sitting there with both the boys and both the girls, and they're sitting there like, man, this is weird. Oh, and then the last thing I want to mention before we can move on to whatever. Did you notice that even in this episode, so Rhaenyra goes over. We also didn't talk about Daemon talking to Viserys either. It's like, time has not been good to you, has it, brother? But there's a point where Rhaenyra goes up to Jace and she's like, you should go talk to your cousins. They just lost a parent. And he's like, yeah, so did I.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I happen to know exactly what that's like.
It made the whole scene being called a bastard at the end real. I mean, that's what made it real.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also really kind of implies very nicely that they did love Harwin. Harwin was there all the time. Harwin was teaching them how to fight and all this stuff. And that really was like a father to them, even though Laenor was like their surrogate father or whatever. But
And then in the same token as well, I don't know if he said anything about that, but was it Viserys? Is he the older one? Because when Corlys's brother was talking to him and saying, "Hey, one day you'll be the king or you'll be whatever," and he was like, "I don't want that." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "Because that means everybody will be dead."
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh God, that's a lot for a kid to say."
Yeah, that's very, very prudent of him. Because it would go if Jacaerys is going to be the heir to the Iron Throne, then essentially, the younger boy would be next in line, Driftmark, which is the Valerian castle, and they're very, very smart boys. Like they know what's going on.
Well, I mean, history alone and that whole scene. I mean, what do you do when you know that people die in battle all the time? So
yeah,
battle or whatever the case may be. Viserys is still living, even though like he's barely living anymore. So, I think in Game of Thrones they did a pretty good job showing that no matter what kid you were, I mean, the oldest kid needed to set the example, but the other kids were also expected to fall in line and do the same because you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Your point. Huh? Was there anything else, folks? I was saying,
House of the Dragon.
I want to comment on it, but like I said, my fault. I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, these two episodes, even though there was a time jump, I mean, even though I don't know, it was very concentrated because that's what I'm liking about the storytelling in this, because a lot of the scenes, there's a lot of meaning behind a lot less, if that makes any sense, because it's like, it's just seeing, like when you see the battle lines drawn, just them standing there. I think another scene that really kind of stood out to me was like when Alicent was calling for an eye, and she looked at, basically called out Kristen and said, "Hey, your allegiance is to me." And Kristen's like, and he about walks out, and Damon's like, "Whoa, no, you're not." So I mean, it's like, it's just little like subtleties within this are like speaks volumes. So that's what I'm really liking about this. So,
Ross, did you want to talk about Larys?
No, that dude, like
that's Ross's favorite character.
that whole scene with him being called out. Who was talking to Alicent about him? It wasn't Cole. Anyway,
now I'm blanking. Who was it?
I know, I can't remember, but it was just a simple. It may have been because we knew that he was the new hand right off the bat pretty quickly. They didn't need to transition that story; they just jump with both feet in. When he is sitting there, clearly like donned all the apparel necessary to be considered the Lord of where was it? Either way, it doesn't matter.
What hall? Something hall?
Yes,
The-
yes.
There's
So,
yeah.
Heron Hall.
Harrenhal.
Yeah.
And
And by the
so
way, they
with-
even allude to it in the episode. Like, there's this thing called the Curse of Heron Hall, because Aegon the Conqueror burned this. He was like the original Ironborn guy. Like, if you know the Ironborn from Game of Thrones, his name was Harry Hoare, and Aegon burned him alive in his
name.
castle. It was like the biggest. Yeah, Harry Hoare. It was like it was like the biggest monstrosity of a castle that was supposed to be completely impregnable, and Aegon just burnt it to a crisp, and that's why it's all melted and deformed like that. But it becomes the Lord of Harrenhal. After that, they died terrible deaths, and it's like a thing, and where Damon even mentions it on the beach with Rhaenys, and she's like, "You do know the Harrenhal's curse?" And it's like Damon's just like, "Those are ghost stories, nothing more," you know. So
he recognized it pretty soon too. He's like, it's a pretty strong coincidence that they use that same exact story to kill off more people that belong there.
yeah.
But the just seeing his little slimy ass sitting there in his Lord get up was more than enough to get underneath my skin right off the bat. Because we all know, everyone knows, like, you're stuck in a position where, as the viewer, you're omniscient. You know everything that's going on. But at the same time, all these people are only witnessing him coming out of nowhere. He somehow lingered around the castle whenever his dad was the Hand. And now he is, instead of attending their funeral, he's attending the funeral of someone else. He's not dealing with the duties that he should be for his own family at his own location. He is somewhere else, which means in the line of importance, his family comes below other things.
Yeah. Also, the fact that at the end of the show, he comes up to Allison. He's like, "Hey, I can get that eye from that little kid if you'd like me to." Yeah, it's like, hey, if you still want that eye, you know who to come to. I'm your boy.
I so saw Rocket the Raccoon. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get that eye." I'm gonna get that eye.
Oh man.
Well,
This is my favorite episode of the whole season. And I was talking to my mom. She's like, you always say that. I'm like, no, this really was. This last episode, this is where the shit hit the fan. I mean, this is where it got real, Now it's like all the power came together on both sides.
right.
That
the chessboard is set.
Yeah, with Rhaenyra and Damon finally being like, all right, enough of this. Will they, won't they? You're my baby now. You're my husband. And then
You're my uncle. You're my uncle.
Aemon touchdown. Aemon taking Vhagar. Like I said, when you read the books, it's one of the coolest early moments that happens in the books. And I was waiting for this moment. And, normally when you're so hyped up for something like that, it leaves a lot of room to disappoint.
Mm-hmm.
I was not disappointed whatsoever, dude. It was
awesome.
So good.
Or to change your Twitter name to On the Edge of Your Chair.
yeah, I really.
That's why I'm really curious about this next episode, because, like I said, if you got this building point now for this one where, okay, everybody's here, I'm like, oh, are we finally going to see the fallout from all of this?
Yeah.
I was just about to ask that. Yeah, because I know you Cody had said the next episode's supposed to be the best one, right?
So, okay, there are people in the media that get to view the episodes early, and people are already talking like, not only is this the best episode of the season, but this might be one of the best hours of television, like
Ooh.
in a long time, or maybe ever. Like the people are really hyping it up to be that fucking cool. I no doubt, because
So we're
I
wrapping
kind
up
of
the post
know,
game show early tomorrow, is what you're saying. Yeah.
dude. Greg, you have no idea the war I've been fighting with myself, man. So another thing I heard is that we might not get season 2 for another 2 years.
What?
Oh Lord,
I know, but it sucks. So it's like,
can't do this
dude,
to me now.
but also like, I know the Panthers are gonna get fucking slapped, and so we're gonna be sitting there listening to G Baby fucking cuss someone out. And, oh,
Yeah.
dude, we gotta get
And
the
they're like,
fuck
we won't
Yeah.
rule
out
five.
of
It's like,
here,
everybody
bro.
sucks. It's like, oh, it's just whatever. It's like same
Oh,
song.
dude.
Yep.
It
Never
just be
call
your
safe fireman rule.
your consolation gift. You know, you can turn your whole community onto that shared family watch or whatever they call it on HBO.
Cody, I think that's what I said to you because I had messaged you after I think watching one of the episodes. I was like, it was like Sunday night. I'm just like, at least it's some solace for today after
Yeah.
the bullshit we watched earlier.
Oh, I already know the jig is up for this season. Like, I'm only looking forward to basically doing the pass and House of the Dragon on Sundays. You know, like that's the unequivocal truth. But yeah, this next episode, and it'll be the final time jump. So for those of you that are like not cool with it, this is it. The characters that you're going to be introduced to in this episode, and it's still the same people, but they're just aged up. So, but it's only the children of Rhaenyra and Alicent,
Like,
and
okay,
and Daemon, his two daughters that he had with Lena, also have new actresses.
the Rings of Power show does at least give you like the final scene of this last episode of Rings of Power did something, that was like, and all of the fans that watched it were like finally, like, you see it, like it's there. All I need House of Dragon to do is just say 2 years later,
Yeah.
6 years later.
Hey, dude, just give me some subtitles
Yeah,
telling me the time. Yeah.
One little bit of text font, which would probably be the cheapest thing that they do on the whole entire show,
Yep.
would benefit so many more people.
Get that.
And to that point, I believe it's about to be an 8-year time jump. So if it never gets said, or if they don't have a way of telling you, it is a pretty considerable one.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit there carving years into the wood. Like, I just need to know where I'm at. Just add the
They
tabs.
just drop ages. It's like, okay, you were this
Yeah.
age here, so it's like now it's like you got to do this continuation of math in your head.
I know, and I'm with you,
Damn.
Sarah. You said it earlier. It's like when you're trying to figure it out, it takes you out of watching the episode, and that's
Yeah.
what pisses me off. That right there is the one aspect that pisses me off. Anyway,
I don't like math.
It's
Everything
great.
else is so good.
yeah, these two last episodes were good.
Like I can almost let that slide just a little.
So,
Well-
Greg, what I think we need to do tomorrow is we need to I'll make the post game show tonight, and we need to try and convince Tony and CK, or Tony, because CK is going to be at the game. He's going to be at my house tomorrow in the morning. He's going to drop off a webcam for me. He's going to go to the game, but I think we should try and start a little bit early, maybe even while the game is along.
The game is still happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. I'd be down for maybe fourth quarter, because I imagine it's going to be some just watching us get slaughtered in the fourth quarter. Our defense will be gassed from being on the field for 45 minutes of the game.
No, because we won't see the offense in the fourth quarter. We won't see them at all.
Well, we don't really see them the
It'll
whole
be
game,
just defense.
Yeah, we don't see them the whole game, but
Our defense is going to
15
be
plays a
out.
game.
Our defense is going to be on the field with signs that say, "Please send food and water." So tired.
Yeah, we're basically at that point. Well, okay, so that wraps up House of the Dragon. Cody, I'm with you, man. I'll talk to let's put that bud in Tony's ear, maybe start in the fourth quarter, so that way we can do a little watch along and get that wrapped up a little quicker, because it's gonna be.
I'm gonna make the show after we're done here tonight, so that way it's
I hear
good to go for tomorrow.
That's the
Already
benefit
ready
of
to go.
Let me know,
multiple screens,
fellas, 'cause I
man.
definitely would be, I'll
Yeah.
be definitely watching that. I'll open the chat on that one. Oh my gosh.
I always put C3 on the side, and I'm sitting there watching, watching House of Dragon.
No, but see,
Like,
that's
I
the
listen to
thing.
you guys, but I'm in
Like,
it.
I love House of the Dragon so much. Oh, dude, there's nothing else happening. It's me and the television, and everything else in the world needs to fuck off for an hour, bro. Because I love it. Like, this whole world, it's my, like I was telling you guys once upon a time that Watchmen was like my favorite comic book, series of all time.
Mhm.
A Song of Ice and Fire to me is just like a step above. It's just the drama that's in all these shows, man. Like, most of the action doesn't even come through battles or action scenes and fights. No, it's the interpersonal drama between these very nuanced characters that it's just moving, man. It's incredible. It's incredible. I love it.
Yeah. They've definitely done a great job, like catching the attention of somebody like me who didn't even like Game of Thrones. Not didn't like Game of Thrones, didn't watch Game of Thrones, so I wasn't aware of it. So yeah,
You got to be very clear about that. You better be careful what you say.
yeah, and I didn't like because somebody's gonna, like Cody said, somebody will cut that clip out right there and use it in miscontext on.
But Greg said he
videos,
didn't
so,
like
right.
the Game of Thrones.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's hop into Rings of Power, another big one going on right now. We are at the penultimate of this one.
Yes.
Coming up this week. Cody, I know you have your grievances with this, and I gotta have you air them out because I am loving this show, and the way Ross kind of walked into it a moment ago, talking about the way it wraps it up at the end. Like, yeah, there was only one thing they could have done better for me at the end is him actually saying it instead of just the word popping up.
Oh yeah,
but it was still pretty cool. So
even I figured that one out.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
I looked at Brian. I was like,
I was waiting the whole episode, and I was like, are they gonna like is there some point in time they're gonna mention this? Like, are we gonna see this time? But yeah, that's hopping straight to the end of this most recent week's episode. So Cody, give me some grievances, man. I know you don't like this as much as the Game of Thrones universe, and that's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Are you sure you want me to go first? Like,
yeah. That way we can just knock them all down. Yeah, but no, I do want to hear it legitimately because, like I said, I'm loving it, and I don't know.
I'll say this: if Ross or Sarah would like to go first, I'd like to let them. But if because I got stuff to say, dude. Like, I don't want So again, if someone's enjoying this show, man, far be it from me to tell you to stop enjoying it. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do at all. But Ross mentioned something earlier. When in House of the Dragon, when the kids are fighting, you're enthralled by it, but nothing about any of it takes you out of the story.
Okay.
And I feel like Rings of Power is ridden with moments where I'm just like, oh, dude, here we go again. Like, every character has impenetrable plot armor. Every single one. I'm never, ever afraid for any of the main characters in this show. They had an opportunity to kill the mother of the younger boy, and she should have died, man. An arrow went through her shoulder, probably punctured a lung, and probably punctured an artery. And now she's fine. She's totally okay, dude.
Okay.
Later on in the episode, Galadriel just tanks a volcano to the face. And just like, whatever, dude. No problem with that. It's like, there's no reason to be fearful about any of the characters in this show. Even when the orcs are there, when that orc is fighting Arendir, like, even the fight scenes are bad. He's fighting Arendir, and they punch each other, stop, and they stare all angry at each other for a minute. Then they hit each other. Arendir stabs his eye out, and the eye is bleeding everywhere. Like, can orcs not bleed out? Is that just like, are they impenetrable? Another thing, too. Why are the orcs?
You go first. No, it's cool. Yeah.
You told me to go off.
Yeah, good.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. orcs are supposed to be corrupted or they're supposed to be corrupted elves, correct?
I don't think so. Orcs are like grown. Like because if you
Okay.
notice, like in Lord of the Rings, you can see them like pulling them out of the ground, like birthing them out of the ground. Orcs are grown.
So you had two different kinds though, because you had the orcs and you had the Uruk-hai.
The Uruk-hai, yeah, and I think
because
they are,
the little groundling ones, but the Uruk-hai were the ones that were more
the badass ones, like the upgraded ones. Yeah, the ones you didn't want to mess with. The orcs were putties, like or Foot Clan.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out what these are because they're
expendable
like
fodder.
talking and shit. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I had always heard that like orcs were like elves that had been corrupted. Yeah, Bobby Boots says orcs are indeed corrupted elves. Okay, so here's the thing: if they're corrupted elves, it's already made a point to show you the elves have much better vision, they have much better hearing, and they live way longer than normal people. So why do they all have to have torches in order to see where they're going at night? Like they're supposed to have this incredible vision, but they literally file up to the embattlements in a single file line. Oh boy, I hope this isn't a trap that we're about to fall into right here. And it totally is, dude. And it's like, I don't know, man. I've been trying to like give this show as many chances as possible, but there are so many moments that just completely takes me out of it. Like when the Numenorians arrive there, they instantly know right where to go. They land, they head right to the spot that they were supposed to go. And then when the orcs finally do come into the town, they have this battle. And then after Arendir kills the orc that he's fighting, then he goes back and yay, we won! We all destroyed all the other orcs off camera while no one was looking at all. Okay, dude. The final thing, and then I'll shut up. I promise.
No, you're good. These are all fair points. Yeah.
Okay. The sword. Number one, I don't understand why it disappears every time it appears. Like it's a blood sword. You stab it in your arm, and the sword appears, and then it goes away. That's here nor there. But then all of a sudden they use it like a super key that just makes it makes the mountain explode. For what? Why? And Arendir knew what the sword was. He knew what it felt like. How did he not know that it was an axe?
That's one grievance I have too. I'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
How did you not know that, man?
Yeah.
It's just like there's so much poor writing in this show. It's like every time it does something good that I'm enjoying, like I like the elf and the dwarf dude, and the dwarf has problems with his father. I'm into that part of the show. I want to see what happens next with that, and I like the dynamic that's playing out with that. But everything else, it's like, okay, the orcs are bad. I wonder who's going to win this fight that they're in. Probably not the orcs. And then it's like the impenetrable plot armor. There's no reason to be worried about the health of any of these people because they're all going to be okay because the story dictates that they're going to be okay.
Well, to be fair, the orcs did win that battle and take the Southlands. So like they didn't lose that battle. Like that was one that went. And in this, like in Lord of the Rings, there's no guerrilla warfare. It's armies marching straight on ahead of armies, just like we used to battle back in the people used to battle back in the day. Like there's no guerrilla warfare. It's not going to be tactical missions to take somebody out. And the other thing is like you can't in a prequel you can't make certain characters expendable. Like the main characters have to live because what happens to them in the future. It's kind of a problem you have in having such a great story and then telling a prequel to it. But I'm sure they probably will have some people die. You're going to see some. I mean, you're right. I can't think of anybody that's even semi-important that has. But I mean, if it's somebody they're going to bring up just for the sake of this show, it's kind of a throwaway character. If you're just going to kill them, just to you're frizzing them. You're killing them to advance another character's story. So like the main characters you see in this, like I'm loving it because I know what these characters have become. And like I know they're not going to die in here, but it's even the thing with like Isildur. Like I know Isildur's not dead, but for some reason they buried him in a building, and they've made it seem like they can't find him, and we don't know what's going on with that. But you know, like I know he's not going to die. I've seen what he does in the future. You know,
Like,
So I
the
give you
only-
other characters. Like they don't give you what you need are expendable characters. You need a storyline
Possibly,
that's strong enough to stand on its own in order to help boost the characters that are the ones who can't die. And you know, you're right, Cody, throwing the word plot armor around because it truly seems like that. And last time we did this show, I came out and said I was waiting for a couple weeks to release to get a feeling on what was going on with all of these different things. Between House of Dragons and Rings of Power, I didn't know which way I wanted to lean as far as which one I thought was better. Last time I said House of Dragons was definitely better. It does what Game of Thrones did, and it enthralls you. The drama and the storyline and the stakes, every bit of it, not just like from a cinematography and directing point of view, like really gets you into the story. But what I've noticed watching Rings of Power is that you're not invested on that same level. And so when you're not invested, it feels like everyone has their own scapegoat. You could say the same exact things about House of Dragon, but they leave the door open wide enough for you to make your own assumptions on what the future holds. Rings of Power doesn't do that, but they're not giving you the stakes. We all know what the storyline. Well, I mean, for anyone like deep enough into this, knows what the storyline is going to fall into. By the time they get to the Third Age and Lord of the Rings and everything else, it's a pre-made story that's already been bought and sold. What we need more of the drama side of it, and what they're focusing on is the visual and really trying to build these characters that they already have up. I think there's a reason why. I know they sold the rights to this thing for dirt cheap. I mean, a couple hundred. I can't remember what the number was now. But what they did was they allowed Amazon, with the creative influence of the Tolkien estate, to create this show. And I just feel like it lacked in something. And what I worry is that we're now at a point to where next week is the finale, and we know that they're probably. I'm not even sure. I haven't even followed up on it.
Yeah,
Are we getting another season? I mean, we should be getting another season.
I think
but
the plan was to have multiple seasons.
Right. I just don't know how far it's going to go on to. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that Amazon had already committed for sure to making 2, and I believe they're already making season 2 as we speak.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, look, they're already ahead of the game when it comes to House of the Dragon, but at the same time, they're also they're making their own money at this point in time. So
I wanted to ask you guys a question too. Oh, well, go ahead, Ross. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just think that's. I think it lacks the. It lacks the metaphorical balls to be a really good show. I think that I have nothing wrong with it. I enjoy myself watching this show. I am enthralled watching it visually. I know what the story is, but I totally get where your issues come up with it. Because while watching it, I stand up for other shows that people don't like either, just because at the same point in time, like I like parts of it that other people don't like. Mm-hmm. And House of Dragon just keeps you on the edge of your seat constantly. And I feel like Rings of Power is just telling you a story. And as it's telling you that story, you're not part of the story. You as a viewer are not part of the story.
That makes sense. And we talked about this in the Four Horsemen chat too, is the difference between the two is one is basically a political action thriller, like House of the Dragon, The other is a story of good and evil. And it's a fantasy story about so they do have differences in the two there, But like Russ says, I see some of your points, and there are some grievances I have with, especially that thing like when I saw the axe, I was like, no, there's no way he wouldn't have known that. That doesn't make any sense. The plot armor thing's not really that big of a deal for me because I want to see really good action scenes, and I know that most of these characters that are surviving or that have gone through crazy stuff so far are elves or have some kind of power beyond what a man would have to withstand that kind of stuff. So, Sarah, I want to ask you a question real quick, hear your thoughts real quick, but I wanted to get to what White Chocolate Espresso sent me here. It said in Tolkien's works, orcs are a brutish, aggressive, ugly, and malevolent race of monsters, contrasting with the benevolent elves and serving an evil power. Though they share a human sense of morality, there is a suggestion among several somewhat contradictory origin stories that they are a corrupted race of elves. So I don't know if that's sounds.
But that's been
like
across multiple different. That as much as that holds true here, it holds true in other cultures and like storylines also.
Right. That's kind of what it's saying. It's like I don't think it's like a definite yes, these things are, but it's different versions, different ways everywhere. It's probably
because they do have the ears. If you notice, they have the pointy ears like elves do. So like, and that has been something that I heard as well, that they are corrupted elves. I'm like, so why can't they see in the dark then? If she's over there like, oh, you can't see the land, you peasant human. I saw it 2 hours ago. And that's another thing. Like, I know I've already kind of talked about Galadriel. She is such an unlikable character. The amount of time, the amount of times that like once she's threatening her allies, like when she was in Numenor, she's like, no, you either let me go or I'm gonna fucking kick all your asses. Okay, but then you need them later. And then like even the point when she captures the dude, I forget names, but the orc dude, and she's like, I'm gonna kill all of your orcs, and then I'm gonna save you for last, and I'm gonna
like that.
I mean, yeah, okay, it's badass, but it's like, why am I rooting for her? Why? Like, why do I want her to win? Why? What is her motivation? She mentions her brother. Oh, and then this episode they also dropped that she has a husband.
Yeah,
They never mentioned that ever before. But okay, I guess she has a husband now. Why I should give a shit, I don't know. And then a question I had for y'all: what age group would you say this show is made for? Because I don't know if it wants to be a violent, dark fantasy or like a PG-13 romp for everyone. You know, like.
I think it pushes that borderline of PG-13. It's not anywhere close to R. But I mean, I think if you let your kids watch Marvel or DC, they could watch this no problem. As far as being able to take in the gore and the storyline and the adultness of it. I wanted to ask you something about that. Well, actually, do y'all want to mention anything about that? Because I had a question I want to ask Cody about what he said before we got away from it.
No.
You had mentioned that moment with Galadriel where she says that scene, and I said I love that. The point of that was to show her being corrupted in that moment and being pulled away, because she even does say later to oh boy, she does the same thing. She pulls him away. He's like, thanks for getting me earlier. So that was the only point of that, was to show the corruption that you can feel and how she had to be pulled away from it. Because I think she even apologizes for saying that, and but there was kind of a point to that one, but I don't know, man. Like, I know Ross, you had mentioned before the scene with the Harfoots, or not the whole Harfoots really interested you, and before I'd mentioned that it's the least interesting part for me, but now that everything seems to be coming together and I see kind of a background story with this going on with the Harfoots, it's like 3 stories being told. I am more interested in these last 2 episodes with what they've been showing us, because it's not just them walking through the forest.
Right.
It's giving them a little more purpose and meaning. Sarah, what are your thoughts? I'm sorry, I feel like I haven't come to you enough, but I want you to jump in.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's just like I've kind of been out of the whole Lord of the Rings thing for so many years now. It's like I feel like I'm coming in fresh. I mean, other than knowing some of the names. But the thing that's getting me, and what I'm more interested in, is with the Elrond's after.
Yeah, me too.
And so I'm like, okay, you've got these issues with the elves, because they're like, if they don't get this particular ore, their immortality is like null and void. I mean, they're mortal.
Right.
But then you got Galadriel over here. She's like, "Oh, well, I'll promise all the elves. I'll do other." I'm like, "Lady, you already know what the hell is going on, because who's to say that if this doesn't happen, with, I'm saying at this point in time, without knowing what happens, in future. But at this point in time, it's like, how do you even know if you're there to be able to do this? I don't. It's everything is just so disjointed, and some stuff is kind of disconnected. Where you've got, all the different storylines. At some point, I'm like, yes, I do need a meshing of something because everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and I'm like, you're trying to keep up with this, this, and this. And Galadriel, to White Chocolate's point here is talking about you root for her because of the evil went. I don't care, dude. She's still annoying. I'm sorry. She just has like this dead look, like, we're gonna win, we're gonna fight, we're gonna take them out. Okay.
Look, this is my Galadriel.
Any other passion that you have going on here? It's like, I don't know, but I think it's getting to the point. You ever the Harefoots, you're trying to figure out what's going on with them, especially with the stranger, and because there's a lot of crazy shit going on in this one. But with Elrond and Durin, especially Durin and his father, like that clash, I'm like, I want to see what's going on there, because his wife gave a very impassioned speech, like, oh, it's going to be us. It's not going to be, you have whatever crest you want can be given, taken, or whatever. It comes down to it, it's going to be me, you, we're going to rule this. Hey, we might include another few mountains. Who knows what's going to happen? But I was, and just what she was saying about the king, saying, he's feeble-minded, he just, stuck in the old ways and this, that, and that. I was like, oh, I'm invested in this story. This is what I want to know what's going on.
I'm here to tell you, Deeza is probably the most ride or die I've seen in a while.
Damn right.
You can take that to the damn bank.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that his wife?
That's his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's cool.
So I agree with you. That story for me right now is the most interesting story because I like those two characters the most. Elrond and Durin are my favorite characters in the show so far. But Ross, I saw you throw the finger quotes up a minute ago when Sarah was talking about the elves' power going down, and I was thinking the same thing, and I'm kind of with you about, because I feel like if you're the elves and you know this is happening, like it's not something that just popped up on you like, oh shit, this is happening right now, and we've only got a little bit of time. You would know, and you would know how to do it. I do know that, like I said, the Elven King, to me, I don't trust that guy. He looks like something's up with him, and I know they're constructing something with the engineer.
And Adar's the same damn way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like he's the yang to the yin, like the two of them together are comprising something. And we were eventually told that through that interrogation between Galadriel and Adar, however you say his name, that he killed Sauron. Is it like so? I mean, like, who's telling who what? And then so, as much as I was telling Cody, like, the show doesn't do a good dramatic build, I think what they're really trying to do is mask the true plot of the story here. And if they're masking it, what's the best way to do it rather than make the most powerful on each side work together in the background to try to create or destroy something? We were given visuals in the newest episode that the mithril actually does stop the cancer in the leaf, and as cool as that is to actually see, there has to be some underlying plot. I mean, someone is palpitating the shit out of this, and they're coming up with a game plan to try to figure out what's going to happen. It's the writing's on the wall. We just can't read it yet.
Right. I'm right there with you. There's something else going on. It's like the fighting between Galadriel and Arondir and all them. That's the ground level battle stuff. What's going on with everybody else is like the big deal background story. Like what everything's about is what they're going through.
The Stranger and the Harfoots is the aloof story. Like, we don't, like, no one knows what's happening there yet, even though we were given. Once again, the Strangers 3 show up, and like, they're just doing weird shit. So like, I'm waiting for all of that to happen. I am waiting for the culmination of each of these plot lines to cross. What worries me is that next week is the finale,
and they're just going to leave us hanging.
Like, I don't want to hang on this story. What I need is a little bit of closure and the cliffhanger ending. And
Okay.
I don't know what we're going to get out of that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're getting a construction of rings in this finale, unless the finale is like a 2-hour long episode, which it very well may be, because they just keep getting longer and longer. It was like an hour and 22 minutes. This one, it's crazy. The latest one. I don't know where they're going to end this story at either right now, because like you said, they planned on multiple seasons, filming season 2, but I've heard a lot of shows get canceled and all kinds of stuff for all kinds of different reasons. Even when stuff's been filmed and everything else. So I don't know what'll happen. I think it's going to come back. I just don't know where they're going to end this at. Like,
Right.
I want to see rings being constructed, or at least I want to see Death Star plans. Let's put it that way. I don't need to see rings being constructed, but I need to see, like, okay, this is what we're doing in the background, and seeing like the Elven King and Adar, whatever his name is.
Let's just go with Adar. We'll just call him Adar for this show's purposes.
If they were,
Is that
was
the
working
human
together.
king guy?
No, he's the
No.
the Elven, the one who is the father of the orcs.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say that reading that description, it does say they have human compassion, and that does show that in this. He says he killed Sauron because he didn't want his children to be slaves anymore, and he wanted to give them a world to live in. So I'm wondering if Sauron coming back is even something that he wants, like if it's a real underlying story for him,
Two questions. One pertaining to this is my last one, pertaining to like something that happened in the show. Why do any of the people follow this new king? Like the guy that Galadriel is like that he saves her and she saves him and all
Halbrand?
this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Why is everyone like, yeah, he's our king now? Like nobody really knows this dude. Like.
Well,
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Like everybody just kind of gets behind him.
apparently there must be something else, because that, I don't remember the lady's name, but like I said, the one that we all agreed that probably why is she alive, with the arrow through the damn shoulder.
Yeah.
Bronwyn.
She saw that,
Yeah.
I guess, that emblem that he had been carrying.
the crest.
She saw that,
Right.
and that's when she was like, "Are you him? Are you him?" And I'm just like, "What in the hell is she talking about?" But I'm like, apparently there must be more to that particular symbol than I'm aware of.
But like they don't know anything about him, but they're like, "Yeah, you're him! Yay!" Like they're really happy about it.
This universe relies heavily on
Symbolism?
omen's not the word, but
Prophecies.
prophecies. Yeah, it's probably a much better word.
Okay, you're going right down the road I was going down. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so what you're basically sitting on here is, first off, all of the peasants seem like peasants, right? I mean, like none of them seem like anything is super spectacular, which I do hate, because it doesn't give gravity to the actual livelihood of the people.
Right.
And it puts too much weight on the upper ruling class, or whatever you want to call it. So the story that everyone was fed is that a king does exist, and the plot and like the bloodline will reappear, and that's what Halbrand is, and he's living out essentially perfect word prophecy of disappearing, not wanting to be that person, only to turn around and have to be that person. Mm-hmm. Whereas other fantasy universes have told the story in different ways, this one just tells it in that way, and it's a little lackluster. Like there's a lot left to the. I think they were able to tell the story a little bit differently. It wouldn't be so much that way.
Yeah, I think it's lackluster because it's lack of knowledge. It's like Cody's saying, like Cody doesn't realize this because they mention it once very quickly, and if you kind of know Lord of the Rings lore, you would know okay, that makes sense. But if you don't know that, then like you said, Cody, it's just them cheering for a guy that this elf put in charge. They don't do a good job of like telling us of this prophecy, letting us know he's the guy. Like it's just like, this is the guy, this is what we're putting in charge, and he's
the king that was promised.
Right. So, but I'll give you that. They don't do a very good job describing that. I would say they don't have a lot of time, but every episode's insanely long. So
yeah, it's like an hour and 10 minutes every episode. I know you guys are probably trying to wrap up, but are you guys aware of the conversation happening outside of this show to any extent? Like, have you guys like keyed in on that? Like, so Amazon for the first couple of days turned off reviews.
Yeah.
They shut the reviews down because there was a large contingent of Tolkien fans that were really upset. And Wobbly Boots put it in the chat. She put House is sticking to the source book while expanding the details. Rings is making shit up whole cloth. And one of the issues, like the wars being the proverbial war happening here, is that a lot of the Amazon producers are like, well, everyone that's mad at this show, they're upset about it because there's a lot of powerful female characters and there's a lot of people of color. And there were the Tolkien fans that were bitching about that, but now they're making it seem like, oh, every bit of criticism levied at this show is coming from a place of racism and misogyny, to the point where the showrunners just did an episode or just did an interview, and I believe it was Vanity Fair or whatever, and they were talking about how, we knew we faced an uphill battle, and basically even said that Tolkien, that his stories attracted like a lot of right wing nationalistic type of people. And so it's like they're kind of throwing like Tolkien fans under the bus. But I say all that to say is that a lot of Tolkien fans are upset at how many different things about Tolkien's second age or whatever, which again I know nothing about.
Right.
But apparently the showrunners are taking a lot of liberties in creating characters and scenarios that were never real and never actually happened in Tolkien's lore. Like, they're straight up changing things. And a lot of the Tolkien fans are kind of really upset about that because they feel like it's not Tolkien's work that's being adapted anymore.
I'm going to tell you, as a Star Wars fan, coming from a place of extreme love and hatred,
Okay.
every single universe has this exact same problem.
Right.
And what is very dangerous right now is that we live in a very divided and volatile time.
Mm.
And we have a platform, multiple platforms, but I'm going to call the internet the platform, that literally allows anyone to shit out whatever thought that is in their brain out of their mouth hole into their fingers onto a keyboard onto the internet.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. So what happens is I've always tried to tell people, you are who you are when no one is looking. Like you integrity is something that's different. And what changes people is the fact that they have that veil to hide behind when it comes to like the internet and stuff like that. Now, when it affects this kind of stuff that we talk about, that term gatekeeping gets put into place, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where people feel like they're able to gatekeep on what they believe is their interpretation of something, which cannot be altered in any way whatsoever. It's the same problem with religion, which I'm not going to go down that road. All I'm trying to say is like, that's the problem. We all feel like we know the absolute truth. And when you start talking about something like this, with this kind of show, like, first off, it's entertainment. So go screw yourself if you can't just enjoy it. Like I say it nonstop. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you got a problem with it, so be it. Go somewhere else. Make your own thing. I'm all for it. If you can't sell it, maybe that's a sign. That could be a big potential problem, right? But at the end of the day, there's only one thing that matters, and it's whether or not you're getting enjoyment out of it. If you come into it with your glass half full of shit, it's on you. Yeah. If you get to sit back and enjoy it, by all means enjoy it. Yeah. Now, I highly praise Amazon for doing what they did, because people should be allowed to talk about it. But at the same time, no one should be allowed to, that's the wrong word. no one should feel justified in creating an image for something before they experience it. And when they shut off the ability for people to run their mouse before it even hit the internet, I was like, game on. Like, that's perfect. Like, why not? Why doesn't everyone do that? You know what? You know what I don't want to do? I don't want critics or anyone else to make a decision for me prior to. And I always go into things, no matter what people say, is like, I'm going to give it an honest shot. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, okay. There's 50,000 other things out there for me to watch.
Right.
As much as they want to pull in racism and all this other crap, I don't care. If I have a problem with it, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good way to be.
The internet's dangerous. It can be good,
very,
or it can be bad.
It's usually not very good.
And I agree with you. I it just worries me that like now the showrunners are like, well, if the reviews are bad, it's just because there's a lot of hateful Tolkien fans. And again, like you said, it's not to say that those people don't exist, because they certainly do. But it's like most of my criticism, the writing, the plot armor, the way you have these moments that will just kind of take you out of it. Like there's no romance, and it's like they're trying to set up these relationships, but it's like no one has any chemistry with one another, in my opinion, in this show. And it's like I'm worried that it's like if you try and mislabel every dissenting opinion as, oh, well, these are just a bunch of racist misogynists, like, well, then you're gaslighting, and that's not a good thing either. I don't think. But the final
Unless
thing,
Tolkien's telling the story, I don't really know, like, what anyone else's opinion has to do with it. We don't have, it's when I guess Harry Potter's another thing you can talk about, with J.K. Rowling still being alive and telling her stories the way that she wants to tell them. That's on her. And then, you know what? You have literally the word from the mouth of the author and the creator. The moment that George Lucas sold Star Wars, like, it was out of his hands. They can slap his name on anything, but it ain't coming out of him.
Right. Yeah,
and so same thing, like Tolkien has been a part of human society for so many years, dude, that I mean, like it's instilled in music and in so many different things that we've seen in pop culture. But at the same time, unless Tolkien had the ability to come back and say something about it, anyone else making the assumption that the story shouldn't have been told this way are all coming from their own mind. And you're right. I'm completely with you. Not the lack of and not the failure, but I think that they could tell a much better story than what they're telling. I think it could be deeper than what it is. And I think that I'm enjoying the show. Don't get me wrong. So take that for what you will.
And I get that. I'm enjoying the show a lot too. And you're right. I guess there are some things that could be deeper on this show, but with such a big universe, then you start to fall into the problem of like, okay, I love the Lord of the Rings movies, but have you ever sat down and tried to watch all three of the extended cuts of them? Or like, it's like, well, you're getting more there, but holy crap. Like,
dude, when it's physical media and you have to insert disc 2, I'm like, oh, I gotta get up.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, it's that's where you fall in. Like, they had to squeeze everything in. I guess they got to figure out what's the most important stuff to put out there in the limited time that you have to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
So, and maybe they don't make the best decisions with that. Maybe they don't like that, but I'm liking it overall. I can see y'all's points, and they're good points. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I'm not saying the show's perfect by any means, because there are definitely things wrong with it. It's just right now, of everything I'm watching, it's probably the favorite thing that I'm watching. Of everything going on. Although Andor's pretty good too. We're gonna talk about that in a little while, but yeah, I'm liking it. I mean, is there anything else y'all wanted to bring up about Rings of Power going into the finale next week? So we're at least
that's what I want.
Yeah. The final thing I'll add on to what Ross was saying is that unless the creator is there, to say yes or no. Like it's hard to say what they would or wouldn't say. But like, so I said earlier, the Valerians in House of the Dragon, they look just like Targaryens in the book. Well, they made them black for this show, and there were a contingent of a Song of Ice and Fire fans that were, what is that? But dude, now no one cares.
Mhm.
Now no one cares at all because the show is so well written, and the characters are so good, and it never feels like they're trying to beat you over the head with it. It's just, hey, these are super interesting, super detailed characters that happen to be black. And I like it better. I think it enriches the show. I think it makes the whole thing even better. So it's like these two shows, whether they want to admit it or not, there are two fantasy shows that are going head to head with each other,
Oh
essentially
yeah,
at the same time.
100%. Like I guarantee you, one was the answers for the other one. Like, oh, you're coming out with this time, cool. We're gonna drop this right then. Like they plan it. I mean, it's just like whenever you have the movies and it's like the huge natural disaster kicks. There's
Yeah,
tornado
yeah, yeah.
movies and everything else, earthquake movies, and then they all follow each other. It's like, oh, you're gonna make that? Hold my beer.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying. Well, all right. Well, if y'all got nothing else, I say we go ahead and wrap up Rings of Power finale next week, and we'll try to keep us posted on what's going on with it when we know things in the future. I guess after the finale. So
Sounds good. Greg, definitely watch those two House of the Dragons, man.
I don't have to work
gotta
tomorrow. I
get-
might stay up tonight and
you-
do it. Yeah.
You've got to get caught up, man, because this next episode, it's supposed to be a doozy.
We
I don't want to be
fire.
left out of the next episode. Like I felt like I was sitting in timeout the whole time y'all were talking about this. I was like, this sounds so interesting, but I can't say anything about it.
We have to get you back in on the conversation, bro.
For sure.
For sure.
Well, Cody, did you want to stick around for anything else? I know you said those are the only two things you really watch. Or
I wouldn't be able to add anything constructive to this. I did want to ask you. I don't know what y'all are going to talk about next. I think Andor and at some point She-Hulk.
Mhm.
I saw you having a conversation with someone on Twitter,
Mhm.
like about like there was like a sex scene or whatever, or
Yeah.
like I don't even know if you want to get into it right now. I don't even know if I even want to know like what happened, but like
She-Hulk.
Yeah. Okay. It's well known that I'm not a huge fan of this show. It does
Okay.
have some things that are okay on it, but it just overall, it's just not for me. I don't like
Yeah.
the way they portray certain things in the show as far as hypocrisy goes. There's a lot in this show about you shouldn't do this and you're bad to do this. But wait a second, I want to do it. I'm going to go do it. And I don't like that,
Okay.
and whenever, so it's like, well, okay. And maybe it's a learning process. Maybe this, I don't know, but there's a
Okay.
lot going on with it. And I just made a comment about that in particular about, because she gets called a slut at the end of this episode. And I was like, well, when you are meeting guys and sleeping with them within like the first hour of meeting them,
It's
yeah,
just fits.
that's kind of, but there's a lot more to it than that, which I said online. Maybe I misspoke. I forgot about this and that, but
Yeah.
I mean, this show's not my cup of tea. I'm watching it to cover it. I don't want to trash on it too much. I trash on it with my friends, like, off air. I don't want to make people who listen to the show think that, that this is like, this guy hates the show so much. I mean, I don't hate it. It's not working for me. It's the bottom of my Marvel list. Like it's my least favorite Marvel property. And it's fine. Something's got to land in that spot. And not everything's made for me. And I understand that. And like Ross says, if I don't like it, I don't have to watch it. But I'm going to watch it. I just don't want to bash it. Like, I'll say things I don't like. I just don't want to get into super bashing anymore.
And inevitably, one of the things that kind of scares me about the MCU now is that it's being very much made to be a one size fits all. Like, here are all these shows, and this has a different feel than this show, and this movie has a different feel than this movie, which is expected. But then they all have to kind of connect with one another, and it's like they don't necessarily vibe that way. That's why I'm really interested to see how Disney handles Deadpool, because, dude, Deadpool don't give a fuck. Like that, very, very non-Disney. So I'll be interested to see how they handle that.
Especially throwing Hugh Jackman in there. That'll be.
I will continue to go on record by saying that when the next 5 or 10 years have elapsed, coming back and wondering about these types of conversations will be interesting. Just because it's right up the same alley as far as like when Phase 1 was kicking off for the MCU.
Right.
There wasn't a whole lot of talk.
I think
it
now
built up
we're
with the
expecting
Avengers.
it. Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
It's expectations. We're expecting it. And we're like, we're going to be able to tell what's going on, and maybe we won't be able to tell like at all.
Yeah.
And they want it that way. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, but I appreciate y'all having me on. Y'all enjoy the rest of your night. Like I said, next Friday, I'll be here to break it down with y'all again.
I hear you, and I'll be caught up for sure. Matter of fact, I might even do a watch party with you tomorrow night, buddy. Watch it together. You can explain stuff to me as I'm going. So, Cody, thanks a lot, man, and I will see you tomorrow.
All right.
Yep.
Keep on, brother.
Bye,
Greg,
Cody.
Ross, Sarah, you have a great night.
Later. Man.
All right, so we started talking about it. We might as well just walk into She-Hulk.
Knew it was coming.
I did make the comment on Twitter earlier, and just about how funny it is that I think I said, name this show. Nice gentleman asks lady out to dinner. Lady says, let's just go fuck. Then gets mad for being called a slut, and that was my comment.
Yeah.
Which in a small synopsis is basically what happened in this episode. Okay, now I did leave some details out that were very important,
that's what
like
you
they said.
picked out of it.
Well, you're right. That's what I'm saying. There were some things left out, and actually, out of that, the only thing I can think left out was the fact that it wasn't just being called a slut. There was a video, which was totally wrong. And once again, I'm halfway listening, halfway watching this, so I get that, and I was wrong about that. I will say that is totally wrong. I don't support that at all. But beyond that, no, that's pretty much the way it is. I meet this guy. He's really, really nice to me, and we have some chemistry. He asked me if he could take me out to dinner next time he sees me. I'm like, nah, let's just go fuck. Like that's pretty much the way it happened. Like there's no getting around it. She knew him for what, an hour? like how much chemistry can you build up with somebody in an hour while you're fighting?
Okay. I'm not gonna defend that point, but the only caveat that goes with that is the fact that they're both lawyers is exactly what her whole entire thing is, and so that's who she was beforehand. So when we were talking earlier about how it is more of a progression story of like Jin, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole thing is about her. So how does it happen for her? And when she there's a whole nother episode before it, but when Daredevil pops up, it ends up being she meets the dude, she gets her ass handed to her.
Mm.
At some point there's an attraction when someone that does what you love doing and they hand you your ass in the middle of it, and you're like, fuck, you're so much better at this than I am. Like, I did not see that coming at all. She got completely blindsided by it. Not to mention, it's Matt Murdock. I mean, for a blind guy, he's a good looker, so I don't know a better way to really break that aspect of it down. But then he comes out beating ass. Like, the whole flip with the leapfrog thing, which I don't even know if you saw the leapfrog video. They did a whole.
No,
did you see it?
No.
They did a whole recruitment video for like who was going to be the next leapfrog or something like that. I'll send it to you later. Yeah, but the whole thing was absolutely hilarious.
I will say I did like that. I thought that was pretty cool. The
leapfrog part.
The leapfrog part, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. All of this is so simple and stupid. Mm-hmm. It's meant to be funny, and so I know that we're looking for content, and we're looking for something that's gonna change, or give us who like She-Hulk Jen Walters is. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think that's our objective in this whole entire show.
Right.
Not to mention, if you've ever read any She-Hulk comic or been a part of, not her, been a part of, but read a comic to where she's been a part of it, I mean, she's not exactly like the heaviest character. Like the context and everything else that she brings to the table is pretty funny. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, I mean, we just talked about it with House of the Dragon, and with Rhaenyra doing whatever she wants to do and being the woman that she wants to be. Look, guys do the same thing too. In the comic books, Jen Walters and She-Hulk do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
There's a whole list of people, that like Jen Walters and She-Hulk is hooked up with. So
Yeah, that came into the conversation I was having with Brent earlier about how promiscuous she was in the comics, and it's like, look, my point of it is like, I don't. If somebody wants to have casual sex, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Do your things, consensual. Do your thing. I don't like the way they portrayed of, like, in Jen Walters' case, had the roles been reversed and it been a guy, then people would say then they would use that to say that guy's a pig for doing that. But Jen Walters is doing the exact same thing. If I walk into look, if I walk into a place and White Chocolate Espresso says this perfectly, says they're saying that women know in the first 5 minutes if they're going to know if they're going to see a guy within the first 5 minutes. Wait, what is he saying? Isn't there saying that women know if they're going to? Oh yeah, if they're like, if they know within the first 5 minutes of seeing you whether they would date you or not. I feel like that is everybody. Everybody. I don't care what you say. Your first attraction is physical attraction. It's what makes you want to walk to the person to even start a conversation. And by the way, if you walk into a bar and you're looking at people and you're walking there looking for somebody to hook up with, okay? And you're looking for people and you're judging them based on what they look, it's the same thing as going on a dating website and swiping left and right and looking at people that you want to date just based on how they look. That's the first attraction. Everybody does it. I just don't like when one group is criticized for it and one group can do it. And it's like, it's no big deal. I don't like that. That's my biggest issue with this. Beyond that, it's not a terrible show. That part just bothers me. But maybe we're seeing growth with Jen Walters here. So that's
physical green growth.
Yeah, literal green growth. Yeah. I'm still looking for the villain.
Sarah, tell me, what do you think?
Oh yeah.
Well, do you want a woman's perspective on it?
Yeah.
Like I said, like I've been saying about the show, yeah. I think the last couple of episodes I've enjoyed more so than like the first. But the whole, like I said, the satire. This is what I'm getting satire off of it. I'm getting, like I said, I'm getting some hypocrisy off of it. I'm getting like a ton of stereotypes. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe it's just I need something deeper. I don't know. I know because like I was kind of telling you guys, if I want to watch an insecure female trying to figure out herself, I don't need She-Hulk. I don't need this. Hell, I can watch an episode of Friends. So I mean, it's like and I think what I'm fighting with is I think it's my level of expectation. Because when it comes to a Marvel,
yeah.
I just feel like you're bringing these characters, and I just want something a lot. I just want something a little deeper. Like if you took this show, if you took the She-Hulk out of it, or if you gave her some other issue to deal with that was out of the norm, I wouldn't have that big of an issue with it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's funny. I mean, this particular episode, I was fine until the Walk of Shame. It was like the scene after the Walk of Shame, where it was like, oh, y'all are still here, and it's that fourth wall. I despise. I'm gonna go ahead and say I hate.
Oh, I thought you had a problem with the actual Walk of Shame. I'm like, that wasn't funny because I'm gonna tell you right now. I thought that was hilarious.
But I think it's just that fourth wall because I was like, okay, I'm getting this. Hey, this is great. And then I'm like, oh, why you got to do this shit? Because you totally just took me out of it. Because I'm like, just be a show. Don't talk to me. I don't want you to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk to me. I don't want to. I just do your thing so I can. That's almost like voyeurism for some of this. It's like just live your life, figure your shit out. Don't talk to me about it because you don't want to know what I have to say about it. Yeah. So I mean, it's like I think that's what's throwing me off. Yeah. That's what's throwing me off. And then, like I said, some of the situations she's been in, it's like the stereotypical thing. Like I said, with the wedding of, oh, I feel like I need to, affirm myself or validate myself, to show that I have a good job, whether I have a boyfriend or not. But I don't care. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe some things that are more important to some people aren't important to me. I don't know. And then the whole thing about, oh, well, woe is me, how this guy didn't call me back. Yeah. Hey, lady, that's life. Shit happens. And then, of course, then in this particular one, you're like, oh, well, maybe we have more to the story. Can we follow that rabbit? Can we fall down that rabbit hole instead of worrying about what else is going on with her rabbit hole? I don't care. I don't care.
What's going on with the rabbit hole? Yeah, we don't want to know what's
that's
going
what
on
I'm
with the
saying. I
rabbit
mean,
hole.
and and it was another thing too. Like I said, the end of this episode where, whomever the machinations that are behind you, and like I said, the slut shaming thing, and I'm like, yeah, that would piss me off. Remember Gage was watching. He's like, why'd she get so mad? Why'd she tear things up? I'm like, son, why when you get mad, why you tear shit up too?
Mhm.
We don't call you Gage Rage for nothing. You earned that moniker, okay? So, but then to be attacked on that level, I mean, that's just kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's just, yeah, there was that, but to me, I felt like that was almost an attack because she was. How else would you attack her on without coming after her on a female level?
Right.
Like question, because she had, a couple episodes, a few episodes before, the only way she could validate that I am She-Hulk, you had to bring in these guys that you had these random dates with, and that's the only way that you could prove I've said I'm She-Hulk because I used that moniker or I was that on a freaking dating app. I mean, how I don't know. It's just that just annoys me. It just annoys me.
Yeah.
It's like, really, what the hell? And maybe it's just trying to be like more. You're trying to bring a Hulk into like somebody's real life or real personal life. I don't know. I mean, with Bruce, that was something totally different. I mean, that was a true origin story. I don't know what in the hell they got going on here. I mean, yes, it is. A lot of it is comical. I will give you that, but a lot of it is just. I'm just sitting there like, really, we're gonna do this? We're gonna go here? Okay, whatever. But anyway, so yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to trash it, but that's just it just gets
I
some.
feel you.
Yeah, I'm just like, it just annoys me. I don't know, it just annoys me.
I'm right there with you. The fourth wall breaking thing does bother me too, because the one thing about it is I don't think it's very well done. I mean, some of it's like for a second, it's kind of like, but it's not like funny. It's not like when Deadpool does it, and you're like, oh, that's that. It's just kind of like, and then two, how are you going? No other character in the MCU does this currently. Like, how are you going? It happens like 4 times an episode, it seems. How are you going to incorporate that into the character if you bring her to the movies later? Like, of course, this is me with expectations, but I just don't see how that works. Like, are you going to have one person in the entire MCU universe breaking the fourth wall? And I
Like
guess I
said,
could say the
but
same thing with
why?
Deadpool
Why
coming
are
in
they
too.
doing it in
So
this? Why are they doing it in the show? I mean, I don't feel like it's adding. I don't see any added benefit. I really don't.
Well, it's been done before, and it was done by Deadpool. But if you
that wasn't in the
incorporate,
MCU, is what I mean. He is
Okay.
now, but when they did that, it
but hold
wasn't
on,
kind of him being.
if you
MCU.
incorporate Deadpool into the MCU, what would the scenario work for you to see him break the fourth wall in any movie with any team up or any whatever that he's a part of? Where does that become acceptable?
I don't need him to.
And
Exactly. It's cool when Deadpool does that, but I like the character without that too. Like, that doesn't make or break Deadpool for me,
And so with She-Hulk, it's the same kind of premise. I mean, She-Hulk has been written to break the fourth wall. And yes, are they doing it in the same kind of caliber that, you saw Deadpool do it in? No, he's not cussing or making fun of someone, for having 3 nuts. I don't know. Like, it's Deadpool. He says all sorts of weird, random shit. And so with her, she's a little bit more reserved. She has a different, way of doing things.
Right.
And I don't think you're going to, need that going forward.
Yeah.
I also don't know what you're going to get from it. The MCU has reached a point to where it seems like on a grading scale, you go from Winter Soldier to Ragnarok with people. Mm-hmm. So you either want the spy thriller, true life possible story, or the full on comical, funny, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. To me, what I remember about picking up comics as a kid and reading them was laughing out loud before LOL was a thing, and laughing while reading them because parts of them were extremely funny. Mm-hmm. Even today, I picked up a comic book, looked at it, thumbed through it real fast, and laughed out loud because of the humor that was involved with it. Now, comic books are like any other good show that tells you a story over an arc or a movie. you're going to get the most out of it on a longer premise, right?
Mhm.
I think She-Hulk is way too short, and it does not do any justice or any favors to the actual overall story of this whole entire thing. Not that I'm saying that the story is great. All I'm saying is when I watch it, it reminds me of reading a comic book because it's short, I laugh, and I go on to something else.
Yeah.
I don't get a whole lot out of it. Like there's not like no comic book has ever changed my life to a point where I needed to, praise it. Like now what I think that the MCU has done is turned all of that stuff that I've truly enjoyed as a kid into things that I love.
Right. Right.
And so like this right here, this show is just, it's stupid. It's simple. It's funny. And I laugh and I move on. I say it every single week because that's all that I do. I don't get anything out of it. It's not changing anything. Seeing Daredevil was cool. I mean, I did like the story that the Netflix Marvel property of Daredevil told, but at the same time too, I also felt like it was really bogged down by trying to be too serious. And that's just me. Like I get a lot of discrepancies with other people over that. That's me because I don't need humor, but I also don't need to expect, look, real, true superheroes don't exist in our lives, at least not yet. And so, okay. but it's not to a point to where like it's, to me, this is fantasy just like anything else is.
Yeah.
Just like anything else is, whether it be House of Dragon, Rings of Power, MCU, DC, anything else. It's all fantasy to me.
Right.
Like it's literally just people put such high weight on it. And to be fair, I love the MCU. I love what they have done. The Infinity Saga was an artistic stroke.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all still fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I don't care. I mean, if they want to bring in, I think they're doing a decent job of converting the She-Hulk comic book storyline, and I don't know if they're running off any specific run to today's society, but at the same time, like it doesn't. I don't get a lot of the not problems, but I don't get a lot of the issues that other people get with it because I put it down once it's over.
That's the other thing is carrying things with me. I think you bring up a good points, man. You said earlier, like maybe I'm expecting the wrong thing, or I'm expecting something that they're not trying to give me, and yeah, that's all what it probably boils down to. I don't know, man. It's Marvel, so it's not. I've watched a lot of stuff worse than this. I'm not saying it's the worst thing I've ever watched. It's just this show is on its finale next week. This is one issue I have with it. It's on the finale next week, and I have no idea what the finale is really about. Like, I don't know a villain. I don't know what the objective is for this season. It feels like serial episodes just given to me every week of just, connected because it has the same characters, but not really any kind of connection to each other at all. Like, it's just.
But that's what's so
happening?
crazy. That's what's so crazy because you got like She-Hulk and maybe the fourth wall thing. To me, I feel like she's like trying to talk to you like her BFF, like, oh, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing. And but I can take something like Lower Decks. That's about as, but I still enjoy it, but I don't have any issues with it. Like, maybe it's just some of the topics or, some of the things that they do. And like I said, maybe it's just I don't want to say it's like, women, or trying to have this women empowerment thing, but just something about it just hits me wrong. And it's like, I'm trying to put my finger on it. And like I said, maybe that's just what it is because it's, a lot of, things that they've talked about that she's going through or whatever, it's maybe it just hits a little different with me. I don't know. It's just, I'm just, but it just doesn't feel like it. I don't know. It's like an MCU. I'm like, this is not. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Well, Tony says in the chat room, he says maybe it's has to do with the generational thing, and I was thinking about that, and it very well could have something to do with maybe I'm just aged out of this story because like the lifestyle that she's leading, the things that they do, that it's not stuff I didn't. The dating caps weren't around when I dated. Like I don't. So like my kids now, like when I see my kids, like they ask each other for their snap. Like my daughter had a little boy that asked her for a snap. I'm like, wouldn't it be easier just to get her phone number and actually talk to her, or do we want to get online where people can put up all these superficial things and make them look like amazing people? And it's not saying they're not, but instead of just actually getting to know somebody for real, and that's just not the way it is now. People don't want this. That may be a big thing right there. Is this generation doesn't want to court and date? They want to instantly find somebody to hook up with, and that's more generally accepted, I guess, now than for me. You know, so I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. Is I'm getting too old to understand this show. I mean, I'm almost 40
since
now,
we were
so.
in high school, the population of the world has grown. I believe it is close to almost 1 billion people. So with I got to follow a bunch of stats, a bunch of the stuff that I do, right? And so I know that we are at a point to where the human population is just like increasing at such a crazy rate. And not only that, but the ability for us to connect with people. You don't have to worry about finding people in your small town anymore. Yeah. You know, and one point that I always make about this show too is that, and this would be my last one, but like you really got to pay attention to like what is your life, like the box of your life, like what does it consist of? And as someone who has been all around this blue marble, I gotta tell you, like I've seen all sorts of different variances of how people get along and how people are treated. And even today, you know, in the news, you know, we have people being killed for doing the most stupid things, right? Like not covering your head and shit like that. So the world is crazy, and when you realize like something like this, to where I mean it's based in a city, you know, like I don't live a city life anymore. Like I'm not in that type of surrounding anymore. So it really plays a lot with your individual mentality as to like where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And like I said, the show is just, it's simple. It's funny. And to me, I don't understand every bit of it because I don't live every bit of it. So
right.
I'm not a green superhero. I don't know what to tell you.
You sure? You may be lying.
I think.
Okay, so I have one last question for you then. We did raise this question last time we talked about She-Hulk. What'd y'all think of the suit?
Comic book.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. I mean, once again, I don't think the CGI looks good on this show, but I thought for what we got, I like the suit.
And so that's the thing. I don't have an issue with the CGI. I don't have a problem with it.
It's still too Shrekish for me. Like I just see Fiona, you know, when I see her.
I mean, she's green. I mean,
yeah. I get both of your points.
Her.
I mean, like, yeah.
I just never quite understood. It's like how Jen has like this super cute, you know, like the curl or whatnot, but then She-Hulk, she has like the blowout, and I love the color they're doing, like with the like kind of like the green ombre. I love it. I love that part. And I'm just like, oh my god! It's like I want that hair. That's the kind of hair I aspire for.
Me too.
See, Greg, this is all about what your personal experience is bringing into this, because I don't know shit about a green ombre.
Actually, I have daughters. I know it or not. I know that.
I know what the word
means. It's
means.
varying shades of green, because it's not all just one. It's like you look at it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the thing about it too, it's like apparently the designer for her clothes, I can never remember his name because
Jacobson, Luke Jacobson.
That cat
not to be
can
confused
throw some shade
with
real quick. You piss him off,
Jacob
like,
the jeweler.
Yeah.
Right.
But whatever spandex he uses for her new suits now, that shit is money. Yeah, I'm like, because how can she's like this petite, I mean, teeny tiny thing, and okay. The only thing I'm like, did she change shoes? That's the only thing I'm like, did she change shoes?
And that's why I find funny at the same time is that they've made it a point to show her shoes busting off like more than once in this show.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one.
But she does have the She-Hulk sneaks though, so they're pretty cool.
Does she wear the super suit under her like normal clothes, or does she actually have to put that on? And when she puts it on, does she put it on as Jen or put it on as She-Hulk?
Well, I think this was the first time we saw it, so she just essentially put it on before she went out with her little. You saw that moment where she was at the doors and she's paused to stop, turn around to actually go put the super suit on.
Okay,
and that's what that whole like pause was for. But I would assume that she's going to wear it underneath her clothes, but her clothes also changed too because.
Yeah.
But she was wearing the same shoes as Jen as She-Hulk. Those. So apparently that must be super stretch sneaks too.
Shoes expand too.
Now that's the real magic part of the show, right there.
Mm-hmm. See, there's something
the only other thing.
We're trying to
fashion with a capital F.
That's right.
The only other thing that I will mention, because we didn't talk about last week's episode, was the Blonsky therapy session thing.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
I'm only going to give you my take on the whole entire thing, and that is, it definitely seems like that whole collective group is out for one mission. And I think that they're trying to mask the fact that they're all really wanting, or at least like Emil and whatever the dude's name that tried to prick her the first time.
I know you mean the blonde guy that was there.
The one that she like basically that whooped his ass because she was like
the one with the Asgardian construction worker tools.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like a thing, like Emil getting out is kind of like a side tangent story to getting her blood somehow. I feel like that's got to pay off somehow, some way.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing is I don't know how any of this stuff's going to, like we've had little things laid in here and there, and now we're coming to the 22-minute finale, and how are they going to squeeze all this stuff into a 22-minute finale? You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. It's going to be weird.
The end scene to the newest episode was very Carrie-esque. Everything turned red, but blood wasn't falling from everywhere. But I don't know, like from a movie buff point of view, when she was going into her rage mode, it was very much Carrie the movie. With the lights turning red and her losing her shit, all I could think about while watching it was like, this is fucking Carrie, and like we're now in October, and like now we're going into scary movie month.
Yeah,
right. So.
Well, I think her losing her shit at the end too, wasn't that kind of what Hulk was telling her about? Like, maybe there's some things you don't know, you can't control, you don't control as well as you think, and she hasn't reached a point where she's gotten that angry about something, and
exactly,
it came out.
And I really felt that moment too. I felt that moment a couple times.
Yeah, I go through that moment myself a few times. So I don't know if I can throw a car, but I could try.
Well, let me see. What was the group's name that showed up with the guns? They were in Miss Marvel too.
Oh yeah, yes, I know you're talking about
the superhero SWAT team. Yeah, I know.
Damage Control.
Was it Damage Control?
Damage Control is the name, I think. I could be wrong. I gotta go back and check. But
yeah,
that sounds about right. If not, it's some variation of it.
They showed up super fast, so that's odd. We'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah. Well, we got one episode left to figure it out. So,
and you got your Daredevil, so
yeah, we finally got the Daredevil.
How do you feel about
that? I like Charlie Cox as the character. This sounds weird saying it, but did he look less blind in this version? I know it sounds so weird to say, but like I just felt like one of the things that was great about him. Like I actually had to look it up when I first saw him because I'd never seen Charlie Cox in anything else. I was like, is this guy really blind? Because like his dead stare was like perfect, and I was like, wow, it sounds terrible to say this, but he plays a really good blind guy. And then in this show, it seemed like he was just saying he was blind, but he's just kind of looking around, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know. Other than that, I thought he did a great job. I love him as the character. Suit's a little different, but not bad.
A little more gold.
Looks good. I like it.
I love the joke that she made. Like, oh my God. Where she was, first off, right off the bat, where she was fighting him, and she was like excuse me for choosing the guy who looks like a devil that I'm assuming is the bad guy.
Yeah.
But then she turned around and made the comment about it's very, very daring to have a mustard and ketchup based suit. And I was like, oh man, it's on the nose. I mean, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
To the blind point, I don't know if you know this, but when he went in to audition for the role of young Han Solo, he actually did not get the part because they said that he was playing it as a blind person, that he wasn't actually looking at the person that he was
Really?
supposed to be acting against. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'll have to find that article and send it to you. But
Interesting.
yeah, he went so hard on the blind thing that he actually carried it with him in other roles that he was trying to audition for.
Okay.
Not like intentionally. So.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I'm just glad we got Charlie Cox. I mean, I'm sure that Marvel would have cast somebody and they would have done a great job, but I liked him a lot as Daredevil. Even if we're getting a reboot of him, I like him as Daredevil. So it works for me. Anything else you want to say about She-Hulk? So we got one episode left next week. Knock it out of the
That'll
park.
be interesting.
Yeah. Let's talk about some Andor. I'm loving this show. Loving this show. It doesn't feel Star Wars. It feels Star Wars, but it doesn't feel Star Wars, and I love it. Love it. Love it. I liked Cassian Andor from Rogue One. I like the character a lot. I like him even more after watching this show. You can tell a difference in the character because this is him before you see him in Rogue One, and you can see a difference in the way he plays the character from he's still got stuff to learn. He's still got stuff to go through before he gets to that point. It's not he's always been like this. He's a badass. Don't get me wrong. But he's definitely not the same guy he was in Rogue One. He's got to get to that point. I can see he's got to grow to get to that point.
Cassian actually does not sell me on this show. I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is that the show itself does a good job of selling Andor. To me, Cassian seems a little aloof. And I think they're kind of doing that on purpose to show you the growth that he makes from where he is to Rogue One.
Right.
But the universe, the width of the story that they're trying to tell, because it includes so much more than him, even though what they're trying to show you is one specific thing to boost Cassian into the person he's going to become. I think it's just feeling natural in the Star Wars universe that really makes this show pop.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot of people really enjoying it just for those reasons. But like to me, I mean, like everything's so simple. You don't need an explanation on much. You automatically pop in and you understand the way that the security worked on the planet for the people to turn around, to understand the time that they're in with the Imperial Senate taking over and the way that it's changing everyone's lives. You're given different points of view through the team that he's actually working with now. And it's funny because that team is such a wide dynamic that you can side with all of it. The little kid, I'm very tough with names on this one because I'm still trying to learn them. Mm-hmm. But the little kid on the team he's like a rebellious, like young prophetic zealot, it's amazing what he's actually able to express with his words and say that, what, they're trying to enslave us all and blah, 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 blah. He's writing a book. And then you got the other dude, the old dude, who's just like, I'm just here to fight. Like, right. Screw everyone else. Like, they did something to me, I'm going to do something to them. And then, we still don't know what Vel and I think, I know the other girl's name starts with a C, but we don't really know what their motives are. But it's funny that this whole thing is turning into just a simple heist.
Yeah, but that's what they explained it as, right? Was a heist,
right?
Right. Yeah.
But the weight of the heist turns into Mon Mothma. It turns into Luthen. It turns into
that's
all
where
these
you
other
get your
stories.
Star Wars stuff, exactly. Yeah. And I'm glad if they did include something super Star Wars in this, it's a TIE fighter scream, screaming by, because I love that sound. Yeah. It's my favorite ship. So I want to answer a few questions real quick in the chat, and then I want to get Sarah's opinion. Tony asked, why is their tech look so old in Andor? A couple reasons. One, because it is set back from the stuff you've been getting recently. It's set back quite a few years. And this is also like the start of the rebellion. They're scrounging parts together. They don't have the best of technology right now. They're trying to build a rebellion. So it's just they're in hiding. They can't have the highest tech stuff. That's why they're going on this heist to get this money to be able to fund the rebellion, is what I'm assuming.
It is canon that guns exist in Star Wars other than blaster rifles, because they actually, like, the term has been coined in many different things as being called slug throwers, and that's essentially like a lead, any gun that shoots a lead bullet. So.
Yeah. And then the other one, White Chocolate Espresso, says, didn't he say that in Rogue One he's been fighting this since he was 11? Why is he just joining now? If they actually hit on that earlier as to his story, the battle he was in, where he was one of like 38 survivors of this whole battle, and the whole thing of it was the Empire. It was him fighting his own people. The Empire causing him to fight his own people. They basically kill each other. That was before the rebellion started. He was fighting against the Empire. Is what he means. Is what I'm assuming. Correct?
No,
he's in battling.
Yeah. So we're only given brief looks into like his childhood, but like you're not given enough to truly understand what's going on. The newest episode, last week's episode, actually did a real good job of hinting at the different levels of like enslavement and stuff like that he could have possibly gone through.
Tony says the computers look very old. Yeah, there's always old looking computers in Star Wars. And I always have the complaint in Star Wars, with all the technology they have, even if they're brand new, I think they even had to say, but these are brand new. You can look through the binoculars and there's always like fuzz and a line. And it's just like, why? Like, like, I get it. They're looking through technology. I don't need you to have like the fuzz in the screen to show me that. But yeah, the Star Wars thing.
The beautiful part, and like it's always been a Star Wars and Star Trek thing, is that like Star Trek has always had better technology, and
it's always been cleaner. That's
exactly what I was going to say. It is crisper to a point where the problem is that it doesn't make like logical sense for us right now. Like I don't understand how like a piece of plexiglass works as a screen, and Star Trek's not the only one that does it. Like how does battery exist in something? You have to power it somehow, right? And Star Wars has always had that grittier,
more mechanical, like more like that.
Yeah,
you can see the parts, whereas with like
it's
Star
enough
Trek,
room to make your own judgment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that's where it all originated. Yeah.
I mean, hey, look, you are what you are, and that's where they started. So,
I mean, you got to remember some of the asteroids in the original movie were actually potatoes. They used, So I mean, that's where we're coming from. So what else, man? What else about Andor, Sarah? So I want to come to you.
I mean, it's interesting. Like I was saying, it's to me it has more like a real feel, because it doesn't have like your typical what you would think of what will be in Star Wars, and like you don't have the Jedi lightsabers and all that kind of stuff. So, but seeing like the TIE fighters, seeing, having some other characters, like Mon Mothma or something like that, just it kind of ties in, because it kind of can be a little easy to get lost in this, to say, okay, as far as your time period and where it's moving towards.
Right.
Because I mean, it's, it could be like any other, show. It's because it's like a straight up drama. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, for some of it, I mean, it's good, but some of it's kind of slow. And maybe it's just my fault because I always end up watching it like late. I guess that's because I'm so used to doing that, especially with the other shows, because majority of the shows I watch, kids can't watch it. So it's not something I can have on the big screen.
Right.
No matter how much Gage asks if he wants to watch, some stuff, I'm like, no, never. But I mean, Andor is not for like my younger ones. I think it's more, I feel like it might be more, not really adult oriented, but it's like more of it's like a deeper story.
Right. That's it.
Right.
And that's what I think is great. I mean, they loved Rogue One, that kind of thing, but I think there's a lot more going on. And like I said, it's more of a kind of like an origin story, really. In essence, what it is, the origin of kind of like, the rebellion, origin of, Andor and how he got from here to there. So, and I'm just kind of like watching it just to we'll see how it unfolds. I mean, a lot of characters they've introduced, especially like I said, the one guy where they were talking about, this past episode about, his tattoos, and there's markings and stuff. He's like, oh, you know what because that guy, he's one that I don't know if you'll ever trust anybody because someone like Andor, I mean, trust is kind of like it's a novel idea. Now, like I said, you have the young upstart where he's like, oh, yeah, you want to join us? Yeah, come on, man. I'll trust you from the get-go. Hey, everything's good. But then you have like the seasoned ones where it's like, what's your deal? Especially with him getting that kyber crystal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you have this, but you're like, yeah, man. It's like, no, it means something else. It's not, that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's really interesting. I mean, Andor himself is an interesting character, but I kind of like following the other characters, especially our little friends, the disgraced. What was
the guard, the guy who was
I'm like, dude.
Lieutenant, the butter
cereal,
bar,
cereal,
yeah,
cereal,
oh my
eating
god,
cereal.
he had to go back and deal with his mom. I was like, oh my god, dude.
I'm trying to figure out where they're going with that story too. Do y'all have any idea where that's going?
Oh yeah, it can go either direction at this point. But where I feel like they're at is they're going to show someone losing their cool because they got their life ripped away from them for making a bad decision on their own part. Mm-hmm. The other direction it could go, which I'm kind of lesser inclined to, is that it causes someone to believe what they did changed their whole view on life. And so he could go full rebellion, or he could go the opposite route to where he's going to end up helping the young blonde lieutenant in the Imperial
rebels,
whatever it is,
a medical center or something. Because I'm still trying to figure out what that place is.
Oh no, that's the Imperial Security Bureau. The only reason why he described what they do as rooting out like cancer and sickness and stuff like that is because he was using that whole thing as a metaphor.
Okay.
He's basically saying it's not our job to be policemen. It's not our job to be warriors. It's not our job to be soldiers. It's our job to figure out where the cancer lies and go and dig it out. Meaning like, where do we see the problems? Where, like, let's be doctors and not, don't want to rob anything from a nurse, but let's not be nurse, like be the examiner, be someone who's going to actually make the call and figure out where the problem lies.
Right.
That's the only reason it was confusing as shit with the way that they did it, but I understood it why they were doing it.
Right. And they do a good job of this too, of making it like she's the only one who believes that there's something going on really. Everybody else is like, it's too random to be organized. But you see there's somebody who's seeing what's going on. So as long as there's one person at least that's seeing what's going on, something's going to come up. I liked just the different like attributes they give to Cassian Andor in this one. Like people learn how he is. Like I like him admitting to them, like, look, I got paid to do this. He knows that the only way these people are going to trust me is if I tell them I got paid to do this. I like how it's the day before and he's letting them know, he's like, this is the day before jitters. He's like, this is how it always is the day before, type thing. They're walking and they're learning to be soldiers. And he's like, you're left-handed, you're right-handed, you're left-handed. This guy needs to be over on this side. Like stuff like that. It's like, okay, that's going to let them build trust with him. Like that's letting them know this guy's not just some guy. He knows somewhat what he's doing. Even the fact that they went into this whole plan, not even knowing how to get the ship in the air, like get what they're trying to steal into the air. Like once they get it in the air, they can fly it, but they don't know how to get it in the air. And it's like, at what point in time were you planning on figuring that out? Yep. It's kind of a key thing, It
makes the whole reason why he's getting paid twofold. And it's not that like he's just being paid to be there. It's that he's being paid for his knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, like they can say whatever they want to about him. He showed up late. He's getting paid. Blah blah blah. But he's literally showing up and fixing their ass in the 12th hour, the 25th hour. Like let's make this happen right now, because it seems to me that you guys don't have your shit figured out. And if you don't have it figured out, then how are we going to steal the quarterly earnings of the empire of this sector? Which sounds like such a small feat to be a heist. But I guess no one goes after, it's not Ocean's 25 or whatever we need to call it. So,
yeah. So White Chocolate Espresso says her assistant looks like a young Grand Moff Tarkin. I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't. Did y'all notice anything? I mean,
I get the
possible, I guess?
resemblance, but it's not time wise. No.
Yeah. Okay.
So this falls in line with a show that Greg has not finished called The Rebels.
Rebels, yeah.
And that's only 5-6 years before where we're going to end up in A New Hope. So Tarkin is already Tarkin, and Tarkin is already old. So,
yeah. Okay. Was there anything else about Andor y'all wanted to bring up? I mean, I know how many episodes of this do we have left?
2.
Two.
Well, it's 12 episodes. Were we on 5?
We're on 5. Okay, so we got quite a few left then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was playing.
I was slightly disappointed, even though that I have come to figure out that this seems to be clusters of 3 so far, like the first 3 episodes, and now these 3 episodes. I wanted the heist to happen in the last episode, and I kept looking at the time. I'm like, shit, it's not going to happen. I was really kind of getting ticked off, but at the same time, it would be cool if they did the heist in one whole episode,
right,
from beginning to end, to see what happens.
That might be next episode. They were on the right on the brink of it when we left them on this episode, so very well could be. Yeah.
It was cool seeing. It's been all over the internet, but just watching it, seeing Luthen turn in the ship itself, like put all of his his fake gear on, and he had that moment. And to me, for some reason, it really screamed. It was Buffalo Bill, I mean, like, it was that moment to he just did like the little hand twist, and you're like, like, whoa, dude, you're taking it like a little bit too far, but you start to understand like that's what these people have to do in order to hide their mentality. So, it's, dude, Luthen's shot.
It's pretty nice.
I paused it as I was watching it. To look at all of the stuff, and so did everyone else on the internet apparently. But I mean, everyone was talking about all the stuff that you see. I mean, I'm not even going to go over it. But if you haven't gone back and like listened to anyone talk about all the hidden treasures in his shop, it's an abundance. So, the husband, Mon Mothma's husband, that dude.
Yeah, and her daughter.
Dude, that little girl could catch a foot that would put her back down into the earth. I mean, she could get her shit stomped out. Hate her.
They're well, a backhand,
What I think what they're trying to show there too is like the daughter and the father are so entrenched in the mindset of the Empire and the life they're living, and living like fat cats, and that she's so separated from that, And I think that they're trying to give you that contrast, which is going to be crazy to see. At some point in time, they're not going to be together. They're going to split up or something. Like something's going to happen to him. I know she lived, but
Mon Mothma's story is pretty fleshed out. I won't go into great detail about it, but I mean, like, she has a son that is, I guess the son. I don't know if the son's canon or not. Either way, like, it definitely shows a point of view to where she's living a double life too. And she is trying to do whatever she can to actually hold on to it. The two of them have been married for a long time, and married well before like any of the, I guess not well before, but married before the Empire took over.
So that answers Kevin's question in the chat. He was like, she married him as a cover, and actually I remember back. I guess it depends on when they got married, but if what you're saying they were married for a while, then maybe it was just a change of hearts they had.
Well, there's a clear division. One's going for power and the other one's going for what's right. And so when you have, the dinner party was an insult to her because of the people that he invited, which those people they're movie people, like they've been in Star Wars movies. And so when they drop names like Sly Moore and Ars Tongo, I mean, like, those are actual like Star Wars people. And for her to actually have to sit there and share a table with people like that is disgusting, because they're literally breaking down the system that she has tried to help build for the betterment of people. And so, I mean, it mirrors our real life. So, like, I definitely get her disparity with the whole situation, but just the fact that the husband and the daughter come off as such assholes is it's a whole nother side of the story. So, I don't know. I mean, we have all I can think about is this shop. Man, there's so much stuff in this shop. You got to go back and look at it.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think the lieutenant dies? The one who is the mole, the one that there's the inside guy with the base. I think he's going to end up dying.
Well,
maybe for the cause, but I don't know.
He's not in it for the cause. He's in it because he fell in love with the woman on that planet.
Right. Well, but they said he fell in love with the woman on that planet, and he got demoted because of it. And because of that, he's scorned by the Empire. So, like, maybe his cause is passion.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, he has a totally different. Like, he's with them, but it's because a friend of my enemy is, or what is it? Enemy of my enemy.
Enemy of my enemy.
Yeah. Yep. So, that okay, I get that, but I think he's going to end up biting the dust.
Yeah. Good chance. You know, we have the way that he talks to his people. He seems very methodical. Like he's got well planned out to what to say in order to get them to do what he wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole scene about, paint the gantry and, like, if it's not done, like, well, sir, we don't get a chance to see this, but every 3 years, which apparently is a massive amount of time for these people.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets what he wants out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So all he's looking for is to not be the one to blame whenever everything comes crumbling down. So,
and I'm not gonna. I will say that is suspicious too. He let a little suspicion in there. Somebody could at least draw some suspicion from that because of them begging and this and that. And he's like, "No, it's not going to happen." Like, well, why wouldn't you? Like, why do you need this area to be clear? Type thing. So, I don't know. Maybe he'll get caught that way. I'm sure he's going to get caught though. He'll get exposed. I like the show. I think he's doing a good job. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Andor as a series. How many seasons of this do we get? Do you know? Do we know how many? 2?
It was originally supposed to be 5. I feel like they had billed it for 5, and then when reality kicked in, they're like, "No, we should only make 2." So 24 episodes in total.
So if we're assuming that it's going to end right before Rogue One, then we're going to have some serious time jumps. But that's just us assuming that's what's going to happen, right?
Well, I would like to think that. I'm fine with them telling arc stories. With 12 episodes, give me 4 different arcs. I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. Problem is that they didn't set a precedent between episodes 3 and 4 to like extend the story. So I don't know what they're going to do. It would be cool if halfway through the season they're like like he's now full undercover. Like he's we don't get the beginner, we get like the novice. So
right. Do a small time jump, like a year, 2 years, because we only got 5 years to work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, less than 5 years, slightly less than 5 years, by like a couple days. So, I think we argued that, or not argued, but debated that last time. So, figure that out. Anything else you want to say about Andor? Watch it. It's really good.
I expect next week to be something pretty cool.
Yeah, I say I know it's getting at least some people that aren't Star Wars fans, because I know Tony's watching it and he's not a Star Wars fan.
Ooh.
So maybe that's something they're going to want. Maybe it'll break the dam and make him want to start diving into some Star Wars stuff. You watch Rogue One after this, and then oh crap, I want to see about this whole thing, and go from there. You never know.
Star Wars television. I mean, Boba Fett had its things, but Star Wars television has definitely been telling the Star Wars story really well. So. I'm on board with it.
Agreed.
We got a new Star Wars show this month, I think. Another animated show.
Is it?
We got that 6th episode. Yeah,
Tales of the Jedi. That should be pretty good. What is that? That's 2 about Ahsoka, 2 about.
No, it's 6 episodes, so it's probably gonna be 3 about each.
Oh, so 3 about each. Oh yeah, okay. It's Ahsoka, Anakin, and who else?
No, it's Ahsoka and Dooku.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 3 characters. Wow, that seemed better.
Yeah, because you'll see a little bit of Qui-Gon as a Padawan, won't you?
Yep. And you're supposed to be getting his son voicing him, I believe.
Interesting. Should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, one last thing, I guess Kevin asked, he says, do you think we get a cameo, a Saul Guerrero cameo? I think we get more than a cameo. I think you're going to meet the character in the show. You know, I think he'll be a part of this show for at least a few episodes. I mean, he's a huge part of the beginning of the rebellion. So,
Yeah, I'm not positive if they've confirmed that or not, to be honest with you. But why not? You know, I mean, he was so broken and beaten down in Rogue One that anything could happen between now and then.
yeah, well, they've mentioned his name at least once in the show
Oh, yeah.
already. So, I mean, the character exists. At least they recognize the character exists in the show. It'd be cool to see him. I think you get him in a couple episodes, to be honest with you. I don't see why not.
Yep.
Maybe not this season, but I don't know. I just feel like you can't tell the story of the rebellion, like how it got built without him.
I'll tell you right now, they've done a damn good job. They've almost done like Marvel quality good job of holding in their secrets. So
I think Disney's good with that. Is what it is. You
they've-
get under that Disney umbrella.
Disney lawyers are good
it's
with that.
Yeah, you get under that Disney umbrella. It's hard for your stuff to get out like that. So, all right. Well, let's move on. We got one last thing. Lower Decks, which unfortunately Lower Decks and the House of the Dragon were what I was going to watch when I got off work today, so I did not watch this week's episode. I did watch last week's episode though, but I did not watch this week's episode. But
Oh, last week's episode was
Oh
good.
my god.
that was the Tindy heavy one, right?
The what?
The Tindy heavy one.
No, it was
Mm-mm. It's
DS9.
the DS9 one.
DS9 one.
Yeah, it was
I don't know. All I could picture was Sarah watching this and just, I mean, the explosions weren't just on screen. Look, DS9 right off the bat when they rolled up to that station, and just hearing.
Just hearing the theme, it was just like,
See, that's where me as a novice Star Trek fan didn't pick up on that nostalgic stuff. But I mean, it's awesome that it's there, but like I didn't even notice it.
What are we doing with this tacky Cardassian eyesore? Just circle around, pretend that we're in all of the pylons, and they just kept
They did it one
doing it.
time. They was like,
Yeah.
do it again.
Keep circling, keep circling, keep circling.
But no, I thought this was the episode. Didn't Tindy meet another of her
Oh,
kind?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
sorry.
so that's what I meant by
Yes.
Tindy heavy episode. Okay,
Okay,
I was like,
my
am I talking about the wrong episode?
Well, the thing about it is, like, I loved Rutherford in this one because he
Yeah.
was like,
I love Rutherford and
oh
everyone.
God, I'm gonna
Like,
sit on the promenade. I'm gonna take my feet there. I'm just like, he's like, ah. And the fact of you had Quark, so you had Armin Shimmerin, you had Kira, which that was actually Nana Visitor. So here's two other, OG voice actors. But the thing that was like really, because when they walked up into like, I still call it like Cisco's office because he's not there because he's gone off with the prophets and all this kind of shit. But it was like she was, when you saw Kira, because what was her rank? Was it like captain? Because she had
In this
ranked up.
episode,
She had ranked up for something. She was like,
it was like Colonel or I don't know. It was
yeah, maybe it was
massive.
Colonel. Maybe it was what it was. But when she was in there and you met her or whatnot, there was kind of like a nod to Cisco because she picked up his baseball because he had this baseball he kept on his desk. I was just like, oh, so sweet. And then of course, you had Boy Miller over there playing Dabo. That was hilarious. as
Oh,
shit.
yeah, that was.
So good.
It was.
I was like, oh
I
my
don't even know why I'm gambling. We don't have money in Star Trek.
What was he? What did he keep saying? Dabo King or something like that? I can't. He was yelling something out. So long as I saw, it, I can't remember. But it was great.
But the Ferengis, the animated Ferengis were hilarious. They were just they're always hilarious to me.
Was it the bar owner?
Well, Quark, yes, but Quark
Quark,
is
yeah.
a Ferengi is a species because then you had the other Ferengi that was over at the Dabo table, and he was just like, oh, just
Yeah.
But
They are greedy. They love money. That's their
but
thing.
Quark was being Quark. He
Mhm.
was 100%.
He's like, I got 21 businesses, and like I'm rolling in it right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. That episode, it was just, oh my gosh, it was nuts. It was just nuts. It was so cool seeing the wormhole because I was just like,
Yeah.
there it is. I'm trying to
Chief
think
O'Brien's dartboard.
Yeah, I'm trying to
they
think
just
what
kept-
else. I was trying to think what else was in there because
The Bajoran food court. The they just kept throwing out all the references. I mean, this was a reference. This was a Star Trek reference heavy episode
yes,
from top
That's
to bottom.
hilarious. That's hilarious because, like, I remember Sarah, whenever you were like, "I love this week's episode," and I was like, "It was pretty good," not nearly on the level for me like it was for you though, because like I didn't get any of that stuff. I was like, yeah, it was a good episode, but
dude.
like now
This
that I'm talking to you about it,
episode
I get that.
opened that way.
Yes.
I mean, like this episode.
It
right
opened
off
like
the
an
bat.
episode of DS9, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, because when you see that, because it's like you hear the music and then you see the space, you actually see the station in the background, and then it comes up, and then you do circle the station as the credits are on.
So
It was
DS9
so
is a
fun.
station in space.
Deep
Yes.
Space Nine is what it stands for.
Okay.
So there are multiple deep space stations, and depending on typically, well, was 9 because of its platforms, or is it because it was actually designated 9?
It might have been because of the designation, because like I said, it was an old Cardassian station, because that was like right with the Bajoran Civil War, because Bajor is like the planet that's nearby. And one reason they had that space station there, they took it over, it was because of the wormhole, because that was like a gateway to the Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah.
So
it was like a highway that no one else could access. So it was like they were the gas station before you get on the highways.
But it was also basically where the prophets resided as well.
Yeah. You give it a show. It's got so many different platforms. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bajorian. Yeah.
But yeah, that one was just like, that episode was just like it was just a nostalgic one. It was just awesome. It was just
the Beckett side plot was hilarious. To me, I don't know why I found that so funny, but Beckett and her girlfriend Jen, and you have Jen's friends that are into Boimler. You know, like all of a sudden Boimler's the badass, and like her
Purple
friends are all into Boimler. And like Jen's friends end up being like a sorority, and here's Beckett trying to play ball, and she shows up like not in her pajamas or whatever, and she's like, I didn't get the memo, like I'm still wearing my uniform.
And you can tell she wanted to like crack some skulls already, because she was just
Which I was telling Greg before we started the show, like I'm almost done with watching the Orville, and it brings back the memories of always having the A-list crew and never knowing who like the B-list crew is, like who sits in the captain's commander and like all these other stations, and everyone else is off duty.
Right.
And then like you never see any of these people like out of uniform because everyone's constantly wearing their uniform. So in this episode where you have Beckett still showing up in her uniform, and just the whole entire thing of everything that Beckett says is gold in that little itty bitty sequence. Like, oh my God, what are you doing? And she says something like, I'm just actualizing my dreams, and just starts like shooting people. I mean, like when Jen says to her, like, I just want you to be you. And she's like, cool. And just like starts stunning everybody. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, you get it, girl.
I love too at the end they're like, it probably doesn't look too good with a whole bunch of people stunned in his room, and us being the only ones not, so they stun themselves, and I was like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it was a good episode.
You're right. The Tindy. Oh God, what's the other guy's name?
Oh,
no one remember his name right now.
No, but he was from Earth, right? Adopted.
No, he wasn't Orion. He was fake. Yeah, you're right. He was faking
from Orion, lived on Earth. Yeah.
Yes. He was their species, but didn't grow up. And he kept wanting to grow up in the falsehood of what he thought that they truly were. And he ends up being some gigantic, vagine at the very end, where you're just like, dude, let her take over, because Tindy's going to save ass, and man, does she ever.
Yes.
I mean, when she goes full pirate and she's like, I'm pirating, let's go. And you're just like, get it, girl. That one tool, I want it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tooth puller. It's a wine opener.
Anything that's named a pirate tool, I want. It just sounds cool, But
then you flip to the next episode.
I'll take this one over.
Oh God, what the? Oh my God, I don't even know.
I almost texted two of you and was like, okay, I'm not sure what I've just watched. I know the connections. I remember the other episode, but what did I just watch?
Well, the fact that you have a sentient, I mean, I don't even know. What was it, Peanut Hamper?
Peanut Hamper, yeah.
I'm like, what even kind of thing are you? I mean, because she had a little bit of sass. Just she had the sass to want to save her ass. Put it that way. Yeah. So you end up going to this. First of all, you have your was it Castaway reference?
Yep.
Sophie. Oh, Sophie, I'm never gonna leave. Oh, bitch, you better go on. There's only room for one. See you. Bye. It's like, okay. So you end up on this planet with these bird people, and what the ever-loving hell is wrong with these folks? I mean, it's like, okay, well, she's like, oh my God, this backwoods shit. What is, I mean, like, just totally grossed out. I'm like, how are you even, yeah, the little android brain is just trying to, I guess, understand this. Then come to find out they were a, space-going civilization that decided, oh, we're going to park all this shit and go back to our roots or our nest or whatever the hell they were in. And then what was wrong with this dude? I mean, Holmes let his the feathers out. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Are you absolutely kidding me? I don't even know how the hell this works.
I know that his name was Raw Dog because I remember her making the Raw Dog reference.
Yes.
And when she saw him for the first time, she's like, "Oh, the village bad boy vibes," and like,
yes.
From Raw Dog, and whoever was with her was like, "His name is Rada." But
yeah, it was like the chief. It was like what was it, like the village chieftain or whatever? It was like his son, so he was like it was basically a village of bird people for the most part.
Watching that whole entire thing transpire, and then like how much time passed by, and the next thing you know, was it the chief got in a fight with the snake, and the snake killed him or was killing him? Yeah, because like everything on this planet flies. The flying snake was going to kill him with the venom, but he ended up killing the snake with the spear. And then, here's like Peanut Hamper coming out of nowhere with science, right? And just like giving the anti-venom. She's like, oh, and by the way, like I gave you a vitamin pack because, you probably need it. You're all probably malnutrition. And she like gives one to everybody. But it was watching that disturbing look.
How are you gonna broach this one?
We watch a lot of things, okay? Like we watch a lot of things. Like I watched an uncle marry a niece, okay?
Yeah, but the parts worked.
Yep.
Yep. That's the parts work. That's what I don't get. I'm like,
so then I watched this robot fall in love with this gigantic Birdman. And she's like, oh, sing for me. And he's just like screeching out. I'm like, oh my God, that's the worst bird call of freedom I've ever heard in my life, period. But then all of a sudden, I guess birds have male genitalia, and she has a gigantic opening on the front of her robot face. And next thing you know, there's a whole other screech that happens. And
Rainbow cowries and that stuff, huh?
There's a bunch of ones and zeros that happen. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
The other side of it is that the species is called the Arior. Yeah. And the planet is called the Areolus. And it's funny because they keep calling it the Areolus. And so they keep
when it
dancing
ran through,
around.
He was like, kept saying, like, what? The air? What? Like, screw it. We're just...
But you want to talk about weird. I mean, this episode got weird. I don't know.
I'll say I've seen this show get weird before. If they all are saying it like that, then it must have gotten really weird.
We went to a totally different level.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Because if you got Peanut Hamper here saying, oh, well, because she was, self-serving and selfish because she like in the very beginning of the episode in the situation they were in, she's like, peace out. I ain't about to do that kamikaze shit. No, y'all can die. I don't care. Bye.
Yeah, I don't remember what the name of the first episode that she was in was, but she was in, I don't know if it was season 1 or season 2, but that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, that whole thing happened, and then they picked up right off of that episode for this episode. And the funny thing, well, the episode's full of a whole bunch of parallels. I won't ruin it for you because Lord knows you have to watch it.
Yes,
I mean,
definitely will.
Yeah.
Well,
And at
it's
the very
because
end,
my question was, I'm like, it's like, did her true nature come out to where she's like this little selfish wench because there was some shit that happened? Or I'm like, did she try to redeem herself? I mean, I never quite understood what. Maybe
no,
because I was still traumatized over the screeching. I don't.
the screeching vacuum job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she just resigned herself to knowing that she was probably going to be there for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she was going to get married with the whole, the fake beak on her face and everything else that she was donning, and then all of a sudden she goes right back to full peanut hamper. Yeah.
Because considering the fact that she actually called somebody to come in and take a few things.
We keep
like,
records of
that's
everything.
Not me. Are you sick?
Yep.
I have a recording right here. You're just like, oh.
Peanut hamper.
Peanut hamper, yes.
I don't remember that character.
It's a mathematically perfect name.
Hmm.
Is apparently words that were uttered during that episode.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense. Sounds about right for the show.
Yeah. And so that, my friends, was episode 7.
How many
Look, episode 6 was fantastic, but episode 7, whoa. I'm assuming it's 10.
Okay, yeah. We're probably getting closer to the second half of this season, I would imagine. So
yeah, because like I said, you had the great nostalgia of DS9, you had all these great characters, and then it's just like, you know what? We're just going to just take a left right here and just go down to some crazy
hard left.
Yes.
We'll just go down to crazy town. We'll just throw shit at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah. It's working. We like it. It's funny.
It's crazy.
It's what I expect when I go into the show, and it's what I get.
The funny thing is that the actress who actually voices Peanut Hamper, she plays Bird Girl, and the like Adult Swim Birdman show. No. Okay. Well, they came out with a Bird Girl show, and so she actually plays Bird Girl. So it's very funny and fitting that she actually ends up going to a planet full of bird species.
Yeah.
So
almost like they wrote it on purpose for that. I wouldn't put it past them, All right. Well, that's it. We covered it all. We caught up.
One thing.
Uh-oh.
You gotta give your thoughts on Deadpool 3. Like that's the only other thing that matters. Like, what do you think about Deadpool 3?
Beyond you telling me Deadpool 3 right now, I don't really know a lot about it. Like, to be truly honest with you, I want a Deadpool movie because I like Deadpool movies so far. I like the characters, but I'm doing this thing where I'm not really doing a whole lot of diving deep into stuff, and I don't really know anything about. Was there some kind of big news that came out about it? Other than
Sarah, give me Deadpool 3. What do you think about it?
Oh yes. Put it this way: if it was for real, Ryan Reynolds went to Hugh Jackman and was like, "Yo, you want to be Wolverine again?"
Okay,
he actually said,
"Sorry."
Okay, that's all I need. That's all I need because I mean that's all I need. I kind of need redemption from what was it, Origins?
Oh yeah.
I need redemption from that because that's the last time we really saw Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together. So I would love to see. But if they're going to do this, please just give me some yellow and blue. Give me some yellow and blue.
Yeah, I think you might.
Give me some yellow and blue.
See, I'm firmly rooted in the fact that I don't like. This goes right back to what you were talking about last night, Greg. And it is, if your plan is to move forward, then why are we moving backwards?
Right.
But I understand this version of it because I think Hugh Jackman has been my Wolverine, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been Wolverine for us.
Yeah.
And contractually obligated to continue to be Wolverine until 2025. Whether that be the end or the beginning, I'm not sure. Really? So all the X-Men characters are contractually obligated to 2025. Why they signed a time contract, I have no idea. It's stupid. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's a good way to guarantee money's coming in.
It is, but it also traps you if you don't want to keep doing it again.
Yeah, it's true.
So for this, I think it's going to be interesting, and I think that's going to be a great way for them. Deadpool 2 told the story of Cable, and they were able to almost reset that story. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to do the same thing in this movie.
Yeah.
I think
Now-
because the big conversation's been like, where does that leave Logan? I'm like, well,
I
that
think
was.
yeah, it raises a huge question, but I think it's funny that you say you want to see the blue and yellow. I would much rather see the yellow and burgundy. Like if you're gonna give me the blue and yellow, then I want it to be like a X-Men Blue Strike Force team movie, like where they're all wearing the blue and
that's
yellows.
a very good point.
Like
But the
I
thing
think if I'm
about it,
seeing
if you're
just
gonna have Jackman
Wolverine,
to come back, I mean, for the love of God, at least have to see the suit at least one time.
yeah,
I want to see that at least one time.
I want to see something in the Marvel X-Men or the Fox X-Men uniforms. I want to see traditional Wolverine uniform. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I agree.
Yeah.
Don't know how they do it. Don't know how to do it. I mean, I've seen a picture of didn't they actually reveal the mask, the gloves and the mask at the end of a movie or?
There's been a picture of it floating
Yeah.
around, and it's
Yeah.
quite popular. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that wasn't the reveal in the movie. That was just something that's been floating around. Okay, makes sense.
It's just like I still hold out hope for my Gambit, because as far as I'm concerned, there has never been a live action Gambit.
I want to see a good live action Gambit.
There has never been one.
I have a few good ideas, but the problem is they've been waiting so long to jump on board that even my ideas may be too old at this point.
Oh, I know mine. He's way past. He's way past it.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're talking about actor, not actually using the character. So
yeah. So that's what I'm finding interesting. I think that it's going to be a good one-off story, and it's probably going to be a good we're going to shoehorn this in right here. I don't know what's going to come of it. I humor-wise, I think it's going to be absolutely hilarious. I hope they tell a very funny story. I hope Hugh Jackman actually has the time of his life going out, because I think that Logan was a very fitting actor into the story. I hope this is like his amusement park finale ride. Like I hope he has a blast just making a movie and doing whatever he wants to with it.
Yeah.
The
Wolverine. To be a fly on that set. To be a fly on the wall on that set. I'm sure we'll probably get some.
To be anywhere with the two of them, much less just Ryan Reynolds and his stupid, crazy ass mind. Why not? But that's the big Marvel news, and then
the big DC news.
The big DC news. You might as well just talk about it. I mean,
called it, right?
If anyone's here at the end, you might as well just wait for it.
Yeah, so it's a long way in, 3 hours. But yeah, we'll probably talk about this again. But yeah, Cavill's back. That's the big news we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I called that a long time ago. I said Henry Cavill will be my Superman again one day, or if he's not, he will always be my Superman. I had to go pull that tape. I'm pretty sure it was like
no, you said it
10 months ago. It was a long time. And I'm pretty sure I was just saying that as like a 1,000,000 to 1 bet. If somebody gives you 1,000,000 to 1 odds, you always put $1 down, like
I've asked countless times, like I brought up, I'm like, okay, is he really doing it? Because it keeps hitting the news. And the reason that it kept hitting the news is because it was really happening. So,
yeah. Well, it was funny.
I'm not going to believe it until it hits screen.
Right.
I think that's been my DC motto. Like I'll believe it when I see it. But I'm completely on board with them. If they were going to Cinderella story something out of this, like Henry Cavill as Superman, like I'm fine. Make that happen.
Do we know anything about it so far? Like, is it a Man of Steel sequel? Is it a reboot of Superman? Is it a cameo of Superman in a Black Adam or Shazam movie? Like,
I will tell you what I have read.
Okay.
And what I have read is that Dwayne Johnson championed the return of Henry Cavill as Superman. And in doing so, he absolutely 110% wanted that character to show up at least at the end or post-credit or something scene for his Black Adam movie, because if there is a foe to Black Adam, then it should be Superman.
I don't think it should be Shazam.
No,
but yeah.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, if someone has to come in to help,
right, I get you. Yeah,
because Shazam's still a kid in their universe, right? So he's still learning. When he had gone to full bat for Henry Cavill, the contract to get him to come back for some scene in Black Adam, which like I said, I don't know what the severity of that is, included him to actually have one more movie. This is all rumor and hearsay. I have no idea. This is me reading what I have read and trying my best to back it up, but we are still in the earliest stages of trying to understand what's happening, so don't hold me to anything. If he gets one more movie, like, Man of Steel was awesome, so give me something else. What I don't like is the same thing that I don't understand with Hugh Jackman, and is like, why right now?
Mm-hmm. Affleck, same way. Why include him in another movie if you're not going to go forward with them?
Exactly.
Maybe they are going to go forward with them. I mean, who knows? Maybe they make a Superman movie, and for some reason, even though Man of Steel wasn't like, even though it's one of the best movies ever made, it didn't hit well with audience scores. Maybe this one will, and like people just completely change their minds about it. So who knows what'll happen? But I'm excited. That's my Superman. Yeah. Always, forever, like hands down.
I was thinking about it just for a couple seconds last night when you were texting back and forth, and I was trying to read and trying to see. And the truth of the matter is, I mean, like if they try to do some sort of Flashpoint, whatever, what would Flash have zero effect on? Like the world could change in countless ways, but when it comes to off-world people, I don't think you can change that shit. Like there is no power that. You can't change what happens off your world to coming into your world. So even if the Flash movie does happen, which I'm not even completely sold that it's going to happen, where are we going to be with that?
Well, you can though, because if you can't, then doesn't that completely undercut the entire premise of Endgame?
Oh, you're gonna start trying to mix some marbles here.
I'm just saying, like you can't, you can't. What you're saying kind of blew my mind for a second because I was like, why have I never thought of that? You're right. Why would time travel on Earth affect something else? But it's time, like, and that's what happens in Endgame, right? It affects the whole universe, right?
But the time travel in Endgame had directly affected the parties that were involved. Meaning that when Nebula was affected, it brought on the awareness from her father, which eventually changed his plans. And so, yes, but the problem is that unless Flash went back and somehow affected the whole Kal-El world, like what you do at that point. So
yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That's what you're saying.
I mean, we're having a real nerd conversation about some shit here.
Yeah, we are.
But
I think that's what it comes to wrap it up. Yeah. I think it's about time to wrap it up. It's late at night. We're starting to get into chasing some serious crazy squirrels here. I don't know why I brought up Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I better not be seeing a text message at damn 1 o'clock in the morning. Y'all talking about some crazy shit again.
It'll happen. I'm sure it'll happen again at some point in time. But we'll try to do that one out of the group chat. How about that? Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. We wrapped everything up. We got some big stuff coming next week. 2 finales. Nothing else coming up on the penultimate. But do y'all want to start watching The Werewolf by Night? Do y'all want to talk about that? Do y'all want to check out an episode or 2 and see how we like it? And then
it's Halloween season, man. As far as I'm concerned, everything else takes a back seat. I gotta learn about werewolves all over again.
Probably, yeah. That's a good point. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, then on what, a couple of weeks.
Werewolf by Night starts on the
very soon, right?
7th,
which was yesterday.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I thought it was like really soon. So, well, y'all check it out.
I have watched it and didn't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, y'all check it out. Tell me if you like it. We'll talk about it on here. It's another MCU property, right?
Yeah, not then this week, but the following week is when we got Black Adam.
Yes. I got my tickets for the first time to go see a movie in those theaters that have the wall-to-wall screens and the shake-in and all that good stuff. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited. It says the way you're supposed to really experience a movie is what it says. I didn't even know this theater existed in Greensboro. So it's never come up whenever I've tried to buy a movie ticket. And I was like, what the hell is Amstar?
I'm going to watch it the way it's intended, to sit back with a beverage.
I want to be in the movie. That's what I want. I want to be in the movie.
Give me a VR
well, like I said, we did all like the 4DXs and whatnot. I got to take a break from that because I'm like, I want to sit still. I mean, it's great every now and again, but I don't want to be thrown out of my seat.
Girl, you're going to be walking with a walker before long. I mean, like those things are going to compress the shit out of your spine.
No, dude, I'm done with that shit. I'm like, that's
Probably a
gonna have
lot
to
more
be-
expensive too, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
go to
definitely.
matinee, man. You gotta go to matinee.
Yeah.
So, dude,
I
it
was kind
don't
of surprised
matter.
the tickets for this theater were only $16. It's like $15 at a regular AMC.
Well,
You know,
there's
so
this new theater in Cary. I haven't really scoped that one out because that's supposed to like you're literally like sitting on a couch, from what I
nice.
understand. I mean, it's
I like
like this
couches.
full immersive, like really must be like super bougie. I don't know, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe with like when Avatar 2 comes out, I'll miss that one because I'm sitting that long. Good Lord. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Good
I'm
point.
getting too
Good
old
point.
for
Good
this
point.
shit.
Yeah. Well, let's go and get out of here then. It's late. Wife's calling me right now. She must be getting off work. Look, if y'all don't know how to find us by now, we're 153 episodes in. Just check it out in the show notes. Seriously, you can find us. If not, we're here every Friday or Saturday, just depending on how life goes. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Audio drops immediately after this show, so that way it's on any podcast of your choice. Give us a like, give us a review, tell a friend, and come check out the show. We'll post your comments and try to discuss the stuff you're talking about. So we like your thoughts. Y'all, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go get ready for a full day of football with a London game and then a Carolina Panthers loss in the evening. So we'll see what happens. Y'all keep pounding.
Yeah, you'll probably hear from me about that one.
I'm sure I will. Later, y'all.
All right, bye,
Later.
guys.